While helping a friend clean out an old barn, I found this device tucked inside a wooden crate full of metal parts. The dial is labeled the Wells Light, and it has markings that go from 0 up to 50. It says "Made in England" at the bottom and mentions a patent. The whole thing feels like it was part of something larger, maybe some kind of pressure or control system. Does anyone know what this measures? What you found is a pressure gauge from a Wells Light, a powerful Victorian-era lighting device that functioned much like a portable industrial floodlight. This gauge was used to monitor the internal air pressure within the lamp's fuel tank. That pressure was essential for forcing kerosene up into the burner, where it would be vaporized and ignited into a bright flame. Invented in the late 1800s by British engineer Arthur Wells, the Wells light was designed to provide intense illumination in an era before electric floodlights. These self-contained lamps could produce several thousand candle power and were used on construction sites, in railway yards, mining operations, and even during some of the world's first nighttime sporting events. The unit relied on a built-in hand pump to pressurize the fuel tank, and the gauge helped operators maintain the correct level, typically between 20 and 50 psi. While innovative for its time, the Wells light also came with risks. Its combination of an open flame and a high-pressure fuel system made it effective, but potentially dangerous. In 1889, one such lamp accidentally set a wooden grandstand on fire during a night football match in England. I've had this small metal object for over 50 years. There are no markings on it, but it has a slight burnt smell and contains what looks like some kind of fibrous or cotton-like material inside. The cylindrical case appears to be aluminum, and it unscrews into several parts. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a vintage catalytic lighter, a device that uses a platinum catalyst to ignite methanol vapors without producing a spark or open flame. The way this model works is particularly interesting. To use the lighter, you first need to fill it with a small amount of methyl alcohol and wait briefly for the cotton inside to absorb the fuel. Once that's done, you remove the cap. This allows oxygen to enter the lighter. Then, you lower the platinum element into the main cylinder where the fuel-soaked cotton sits. Within a few seconds, the platinum begins to glow as the catalytic reaction starts. As it heats up, it eventually becomes hot enough to ignite the alcohol vapors inside the chamber, producing a small but steady flame. The design is based on a chemical principle first demonstrated in 1823 with Dobereiner's lamp, and later adapted for pocket use in the early 1900s. This particular style became popular in the 1930s, marketed under names like Mystery Lighter and Electrolyte. They were promoted as high-tech gadgets for both city smokers and outdoorsmen alike. I found this old cast-iron tool that clamps onto a counter or table. It's about 9 inches long and has a rotating handle connected to a ridged disc that looks like it presses or grinds something. Does anyone know what this tool was used for? What you found is a vintage cherry pitter, a mechanical kitchen tool used to remove pits from cherries while keeping the fruit mostly intact. This particular model clamps onto a table and uses a rotating handle to drive each cherry through a ridged disc, which pushes the pit out through a small opening. Cherry pitters like this became popular in the late 1800s when home canning and pie making were common seasonal tasks. The earliest American cherry stoner patent dates back to 1863, and by the end of the 19th century, dozens of improved designs were available. Interestingly, your specific model was patented in 1917 by Charles Asbury. It became widely used and earned a reputation as a reliable tool. So much so that versions of this same design are still being manufactured today, and you can even find them for sale on Amazon. While cleaning out an old workshop, I came across this wooden tool among a pile of vintage hand tools. One end has inch markings, and there's a square wooden block that can slide up and down the shaft when loosened. The screw at the top seems fixed in place. Does anyone know what this tool was used for? What you found is a mortise gauge, a traditional woodworking tool used to mark 2 parallel lines at a consistent distance from the edge of a board. The tool consists of a long wooden beam with inch markings and a sliding block called a fence, which is locked in place using a screw or wedge. At one end of the beam are 2 sharp metal pins, one fixed and one adjustable, that scribe the lines into the wood. The distance between the pins is set to match the width of the chisel being used, and the position of the fence determines how far from the edge the lines are placed. Once adjusted, the tool is drawn along the workpiece, leaving accurate guidelines for cutting. Some variations use only a single pin and function more like a basic marking gauge, allowing the user to scribe a single line when needed. Mortise gauges like this have been in use for centuries. The design evolved from medieval marking tools, and by the 19th century, it had become a standard part of every woodworker's toolkit. This small object has a white plastic or ivory-like handle and a tiny magnifying glass. Both the magnifier and the white end pivot up toward the slot. The metal appears to be brass, but there are no markings. Its origin is unknown, though it might have belonged to my grandfather, who was a pharmacist. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a handheld botanical microscope, commonly known as a flea glass. These compact instruments were popular in the 18th and 19th centuries among botanists, doctors, and curious naturalists. This type of microscope was designed for fieldwork. It allowed users to observe insects, plant structures, and other small specimens up close, without the need for a laboratory setup. The design traces its roots back to the 1700s, with early forms inspired by James Wilson's screw-barrel microscope, and later improved by figures like Dr. William Withering, who developed a folding field version in 1776. These microscopes became essential tools in scientific exploration, and even saw use in 19th century medical practice. I came across this old wooden object while helping clean out a barn on my family's farm. What was this item used for? What you found is a saddle maker's bench, also known as a stitching horse. This specialized tool was commonly used by saddlers and harness makers to hold thick pieces of leather securely while stitching by hand. The user would sit on the bench and operate a foot pedal or lever to control the wooden jaws in front, which functioned like a vise. This allowed both hands to remain free for sewing with needles and waxed thread. Stitching horses like this became common in the 19th century, especially in workshops that made or repaired saddles, bridles, and harnesses. The earliest United States patent for such a device was granted in 1864, and many improved versions appeared over the following decades. By the late 1800s, manufacturers like J.D. Randall and Company were producing stitching horses in large numbers, often with slight variations for different trades, such as angled jaws for saddle work or straight jaws for harness straps. Despite the rise of sewing machines, these benches remained essential for detailed work, repairs, and areas where a machine simply couldn't reach. While sorting through my late grandfather's study, I came across this heavy brass device. It has a large dial with various labels on it, and a rotating handle or lever at the top. The whole thing stands about waist high. Does anyone know what this is and what it was used for? What you found is an engine order telegraph, a communication device that was once standard on most ships and is still used today on certain vessels, such as nuclear-powered submarines. The engine order telegraph was developed in the 19th century and saw widespread use through the mid-20th century. The device consists of a large dial with labeled positions and a rotating lever or handle. Typically, one telegraph unit was located on the bridge and another in the engine room. When the officer on the bridge moved the lever to a new position, a bell would ring in the engine room and the pointer would shift to indicate the desired speed. The engineers would hear the bell, move their own handle to the matching position to acknowledge the order, and then adjust the engine's speed accordingly. For urgent commands requiring rapid acceleration, the handle would be moved back and forth 3 times, causing the bell in the engine room to ring 3 times. This was known as a cavitate bell because the sudden acceleration of the ship's propeller would cause the surrounding water to cavitate, producing loud noise and excessive wear on the blades. Such noise was especially undesirable during military operations, as it could reveal the vessel's position. This item was passed down to my grandparents by a friend of their father, but no one seems to know what it is. It came in a velvet-lined case and looks like it might be some kind of precision instrument. Could this be some kind of thermometer or measuring device? What you've found is a vintage water manometer, a precision tool once used by gas technicians to measure extremely low pressures in gas lines. This device helped ensure the safe installation and operation of appliances like furnaces, water heaters, and stoves. The U-shaped tube would be filled with water and connected to a gas line. As pressure was applied, the water level would shift, and the difference in height between the two columns would indicate the pressure. I found these old scissors in Norway. They have an adjustment screw and a distinctive cutout section in the center of the blades. There are no markings on it. Does anyone know what these might have been used for? What you found is a pair of vintage buttonhole scissors, a specialized sewing tool designed to cut precise openings for buttonholes in fabric. These scissors feature a built-in adjustment screw that acts as a stopper, preventing the blades from closing all the way. That feature allows you to cut uniform slits without accidentally cutting beyond the stitched edge of the buttonhole. Buttonhole scissors first appeared in the mid-19th century. The earliest American patent for such a tool that I was able to find was granted in 1853 to Halsey Walcott. His design also featured an adjustable stop, though in a different format. In the decades that followed, numerous improved versions were patented, including one by George Korn in 1881 that became widely adopted and was even branded with his name. I noticed this black cylindrical device on the wall next to the elevator in a hotel hallway. It makes a constant humming sound, like there's a fan running inside. There's one on each floor. Does anyone know what this is? This device is a scent diffuser, specifically a commercial cold air aroma diffuser used by hotels. It uses a quiet fan and a cold air nebulizer to turn fragrance oil into a fine mist, which is then evenly dispersed into the air. These scent diffusers became especially popular starting in the 1990s, when hotels began using them not just to mask odors, but to create a recognizable and pleasant atmosphere. The idea behind this approach is simple but effective. Our sense of smell is closely tied to memory and emotion. A signature scent can make a hotel feel more luxurious and more memorable. One famous example is Westin Hotel's signature white tea scent, which became so popular that guests began requesting candles and room sprays with the same fragrance. I found these old metal wheels a few summers ago along the Mississippi River near Fort Snelling State Park, close to the Minnesota Valley State Trail. Nearby, I also noticed some old railroad tracks partially buried in the ground. What you found are cast iron flywheels from a vintage stationary engine, most likely manufactured sometime between the 1890s and 1930s. These heavy, spoked wheels were originally mounted on either side of a single-cylinder engine's crankshaft, and their primary role was to store and release energy, helping the engine maintain a consistent rhythm between power strokes. Unlike wagon wheels or rail wheels, flywheels weren't built to roll along the ground. Instead, they rotated in place. Their thick cast iron rims provided the inertia needed to regulate engine speed and keep the crankshaft turning, even when the engine wasn't producing power. In simple terms, the flywheel acted as a mechanical stabilizer, absorbing energy from the combustion stroke and releasing it during the quieter phases of the engine cycle, smoothing out the otherwise jerky operation. Engines like the one these flywheels belong to were once the heart of rural industry. Before electricity became widely available, these stationary engines powered water pumps, grain mills, saws, generators, and even oil field equipment. Farmers, mill operators, and local tradespeople relied on them for dependable mechanical energy. My father found this small object while sorting through an old toolbox. It has a wooden handle with some text printed on it, and attached to the handle is a stiff metal ring, kind of like a key ring, but completely closed. Does anyone know what this item was used for? The object your father discovered is a vintage keyring corkscrew, essentially a portable wine opener. Specifically, this one was a promotional giveaway from Fred Munch's liquor store in Brooklyn, New York. While researching this corkscrew, I found a patent for a nearly identical design registered in 1884 by Wilbur B. Woodman under the name Combined Corkscrew and Keyring. Such corkscrews were intended to be compact and convenient. They were commonly referred to as picnic or pocket corkscrews because of their small size and portability. They allowed people to easily carry them in a pocket or attach them to a keyring. I found this unusual wooden object that's currently being used as a coffee table. It has a curved wooden top supported by sturdy legs and features metal accents along the edges. This item is actually an antique wooden elephant saddle from India, known as a howdah. Elephant saddles have a rich history dating back thousands of years. In ancient and medieval India, riding an elephant in a howdah was a powerful symbol of authority and prestige. Maharajas and princes often commissioned lavish howdahs covered in gold, silver, and jewels, using them to demonstrate their wealth and status during grand parades and royal ceremonies. During the British colonial period, howdahs were adapted for tiger hunts, becoming simpler and more practical. British officers and local rulers used these saddles to sit safely atop elephants, protected from attacking animals while their hunting parties moved through dense jungles. I found this small metal object in an old toolbox. It has no markings except for patented on June 7, 1898. It appears to be made of cast iron. There's also a hole at the top that looks like it may have been used for mounting. Does anyone know what this was used for? What you've found is a compact Victorian-era sharpening tool, patented on June 7, 1898 by Moses Hawks of Chicago. Though small in size, the device was cleverly engineered to serve three functions: sharpening ice skate blades, knives, and scissors. It features a cast iron frame with a hardened steel disc mounted at the center. Each side of the frame includes guides set at different angles, ensuring the blade aligns correctly during sharpening. The sharpening disc could be loosened and rotated to expose a fresh, cutting edge, extending the tool's useful life. This sharpener was invented during the peak of ice skating's popularity in the United States. At the time, sharpening skates was usually done by professionals using large grinding wheels. Hawk's invention brought that process into the home, making it easy for ordinary people to maintain their skates and kitchen blades without needing professional help. I found this strange device attached to the door of the shop where I work. It has three antennas labeled DCS, GPS, and GSM, and there's an on-off switch on the side. The whole unit is housed in a ribbed silver metal casing. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a portable signal jammer, specifically a tri-band model designed to block GSM, DCS, and GPS signals. When switched on, this device emits powerful radio interference on the same frequencies that mobile phones and GPS units rely on. Originally developed for military and security applications, these devices have been used to protect convoys from remotely detonated bombs, disrupt enemy communications, or create temporary zones of radio silence. It's important to note that in the United States, as well as in many other countries, the use of signal jammers by civilians is strictly illegal. The FCC bans their sale, importation, and operation due to the risk of interfering with emergency communications and public networks. Even a small jammer can block a 911 call, which is why violations can lead to steep fines and even jail time. I found this brass object in a thrift store in Australia. It has a spring-loaded mechanism. When you press the lever, the top circular piece is pushed downward. It seems to be some kind of hand press or mechanical applicator. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a traditional falafel press. This small, hand-operated tool is used to shape ground chickpea or fava bean mixture into compact, uniform patties that are then fried to make falafel, the iconic Middle Eastern snack. The device features a cylindrical brass body with a spring-loaded plunger. When the lever is pressed, the upper disc retracts to form a small cup for holding the raw falafel mix. Once the lever is released, the shaped falafel is pushed out of the mold and into the hot oil. Early versions were typically made of brass, while modern variants are produced from stainless steel, aluminum, or even food-safe plastic. Despite some minor ergonomic improvements, such as non-slip handles or different scoop sizes, the core mechanism has remained unchanged. I found this item in my grandmother's garage while sorting through her things. It has a metal crank handle and sharp blades inside. I realize it's some kind of grinder, but I have no idea what it's meant to grind. The item you've found is a vintage Sears Maid of Honor ice crusher, a popular kitchen gadget from the mid-20th century. This device was used to quickly crush ice cubes into small, uniform pieces. A notable feature of this model was its adjustable grinding mechanism. Turning the crank in one direction produced fine ice, ideal for cocktails or snow cones, while reversing the direction created chunkier ice, better suited for beverages like lemonade. Although original designs for similar ice crushers date back to patents filed in the late 1930s and early 1940s, this Sears model was primarily manufactured during the 1950s and 60s. Its fundamental design was based on the original United States patent number 2,213,166, issued to Joseph Majewski Jr. in 1940, which became a standard reference for many ice-crushing devices of that era. I found this strange electronic device in my garage. It has a round green screen with grid lines and several knobs. Does anyone know what this device is? The device you found is called an oscilloscope. It's a specialized electronic instrument primarily used to visually display and analyze electrical signals. The round green screen with grid lines is a cathode ray tube, which graphically shows changes in voltage signals over time. Oscilloscopes date back to the late 19th century. Initially, they were mechanical instruments known as oscillographs, developed by André Blondel in 1893. These early oscillographs used mirrors attached to small coils that moved in response to electrical currents, reflecting a beam of light onto photographic paper or a rotating drum to create a visual record. While useful, they had limited frequency range and response speed. A significant advancement occurred with the introduction of CRT-based oscilloscopes in the 1920s. These devices became especially popular and essential in fields such as engineering, telecommunications, automotive repair, and medical diagnostics. Engineers and technicians relied on oscilloscopes to troubleshoot circuits, analyze signal behavior, and measure characteristics like amplitude and frequency. I found this interesting musical instrument at an estate sale. It has a round wooden body, a short neck, and 4 nylon strings. The tuning pegs are large and uniquely shaped. Does anyone know what kind of instrument this is? The instrument you found is called a yushin, also known as the moon guitar. This is a traditional Chinese stringed instrument known for its round, hollow wooden soundboard, short fretted neck, and usually 4 nylon strings. It's widely used in Chinese music, especially in Peking opera orchestras, where it often carries the main melodic line. The yushin dates back to the 3rd to 5th centuries AD, during the Jin dynasty in China. It evolved from an older Chinese instrument called the ruan. Interestingly, the yushin typically has no sound hole. Instead, it contains 1 or more strands of wire inside the soundbox that vibrate freely, giving it its unique timbre and resonance. A friend of mine found this unusual book in her grandmother's attic, hidden among some old boxes and keepsakes. It appears very old and is made of thin wooden pages tied together. Each page contains mysterious writing and vivid illustrations. Does anyone know what this book is? The item your friend discovered is known as a Batak Pustaha, or magic book. Originating from the Batak people of North Sumatra, Indonesia, these traditional books are crafted from folded bark pages bound by wooden covers. A pustaha served as an essential reference for Batak shamans known as datu, who consulted it for rituals, divination, healing practices, and various magical purposes. These books typically contain mystical writings in the Batak script, preserving secret knowledge passed down through generations. They feature magical formulas, astrological charts, and illustrations of animals or mythical creatures involved in rituals. I found this heavy metal object made up of several plates bolted together on a wooden handle. There are markings on either side, including what looks like the letter C and a large W. Does anyone know what this could be or what it was used for? The object you've found is most likely a bush hammer, a tool traditionally used in stone masonry. Bush hammers are designed to flatten rough stone surfaces, where chipping would remove too much material, but filing would leave the surface too smooth. Bush hammers have been in use since the 19th century. In 1831, Joseph Richards patented his version of the bush hammer, describing it as a stone-working tool meant to help stone masons create a rough, pockmarked texture on stone surfaces, mimicking the appearance of naturally weathered rock. While bush hammers have become less common in recent years, especially with the rise of electric grinders equipped with diamond wheels, they are still valued in certain situations. Bush hammers are preferred for their ability to leave a more natural and aesthetically pleasing finish, something that modern electric tools often fail to replicate. I found an electronic device that plugs into the wall and appears to have audio inputs for old phone cables or radio frequency connections. On the front, it has a wheel labeled with setting, including high-fidelity voice. The back of the device contains analog electrical components. Does anyone know what this device might be and what it was used for? The object you found is most likely the chassis of a vintage Zenith tube radio from the late 1930s or early 1940s. Known for their exceptional craftsmanship and advanced features, Zenith radios were highly regarded during their time. The high-fidelity voice setting on the dial suggests that this radio was specifically designed to deliver high-quality audio. The round openings surrounded by smaller holes on the chassis were intended to hold vacuum tubes, which were critical components in early radios. These tubes amplified and processed radio signals, allowing the radio to receive and reproduce sound with clarity. Zenith, an American radio manufacturer founded in 1918, was renowned for introducing innovative technologies into their products. Models, such as the Zenith 12S267, released in 1938, featured cutting-edge advancements like electric automatic tuning and customizable audio settings. These radios were often encased in elegant wooden cabinets, seamlessly blending functionality with aesthetic beauty. I found a rusted metallic dart-shaped object about 2.6 inches in length with a dome-shaped head and what appears to be a spring. It was half buried near the Great Shelford train station about 10 years ago. Does anyone know what this might be and what it was used for? The object you found is likely a cap bomb, a popular toy from the mid-20th century. These toys were designed to simulate the sound and excitement of an explosion without causing harm. To operate a cap bomb, a small explosive cap, either a paper roll cap or a plastic cup-shaped cap, was placed in the designated area near the nose. When thrown into the air, the weighted design ensured that the device would land nose first. Upon impact with a hard surface, such as pavement, the internal plunger, propelled by a spring, would strike the cap, producing a loud bang. This mechanism provided a safe yet thrilling experience for children, allowing them to mimic the sounds of explosions during play. The history of cap bombs is closely tied to the development of cap guns, which became popular in the mid-1860s after the American Civil War. Firearms companies, seeking to recover lost military contracts, began manufacturing toy guns that used percussion caps to create a popping sound. This innovation led to the creation of various cap-firing toys, including cap bombs, which gained widespread popularity during the mid-20th century. Several patents were filed for explosive toy bombs during this period, showcasing the creativity and ingenuity behind these designs. One notable example is United States Patent 2-500 and 3-360, titled Explosive Toy Bomb, which describes a toy bomb with gas discharge and sound-multiplying features. Although cap bombs were cherished for their entertainment value, they eventually raised safety concerns. The loud noises and minor explosions, while generally harmless, prompted increased scrutiny. As a result, these toys became less common in the latter part of the 20th century, though they remain a nostalgic reminder of a bygone era. I found a heavy metal device with a crank. Inside the turning part, there appears to be wood. It was discovered in a junkyard. Does anyone know what this might be and what it was used for? The heavy metal device you found is most likely a telephone magneto, a hand-cranked generator commonly used in early telecommunication systems. These devices were an integral part of magnetotelephones, which were widely used from the late 19th century into the mid-20th century. Turning the crank on the magneto generates an alternating current, typically between 50 and 100 volts. This current was used to ring the bells of other telephones on the same line or to signal an operator at a local exchange. The wooden components inside the turning mechanism likely served as insulation or were part of the rotor assembly, as wood was a common material in early electrical devices for its non-conductive properties. Magnetotelephones were a simple yet effective solution for communication, particularly in rural or remote areas. Their design was rugged and reliable, allowing them to function over long and poor-quality lines where more modern systems often struggled. Beyond their intended use in telecommunications, telephone magnetos were occasionally repurposed for other applications. One notable example is their use in a practice called telephoning for catfish. By introducing the electric current generated by the magneto into water, individuals could temporarily stun fish, making them easier to catch. I found a small metal rectangle with brass rollers on each end. I picked it up over 40 years ago when I was a kid. There's a felted pad inside, but the gaps around the rollers are very small, making it hard to see. The item feels solid and heavier than it looks, measuring 1.5 by 1 by 0.5 inches. The writing on one side reads, Bruce Humphreys Publishers, Boston, Mass-Made in USA. Does anyone know what this might be and what it was used for? The object you found is a staff writer, a compact tool designed for musicians and composers to draw musical staff lines on blank paper. This device allowed users to create staff lines anywhere without the need for pre-ruled paper. The brass rollers on each end were inked by the internal felt pad, enabling the simultaneous drawing of 5 parallel lines representing the musical staff. The staff writer was produced in the 1950s and 1960s and distributed by various music publishers, including Bruce Humphreys Publishers of Boston, Massachusetts. Its compact dimensions and solid construction made it a portable and durable tool for musicians. The design of the staff writer was inspired by earlier tools like the rastrum, a 5-pointed pen used since the 16th century to draw staff lines, and the stravager, invented by composer Igor Stravinsky around 1911. I found a small metal container marked stanol. Under the cap, there is a pipe stuffed with fabric and covered with a sleeve. Does anyone know what this might have been used for? The item you've discovered is a portable oil lamp, commonly used in the past for illumination and warmth. Manufactured by the German company Stanol, primarily known for producing soldering materials, this device represents a lesser-known part of their product line. To operate the lamp, the internal fabric wick is saturated with a fuel such as kerosene. Once the wick is lit, it produces a steady flame, providing light and a modest amount of heat. The metal cap serves 2 purposes. It prevents fuel from evaporating or leaking when the lamp is not in use and can be placed over the flame to extinguish it safely. I found this in my grandpa's chest, full of 1940s Navy items. It's about 18 inches long and feels like stiff fabric. It seems like a piece of a flag, but it's just a strip, and I have no idea what it was used for. Does anyone know what this might be? The item you found is a commissioning pennant, a traditional symbol flown on United States Navy ships. A commissioning pennant is a long, narrow streamer in the national colors of the Navy that flies it. In the United States, the pennant has a blue section at the hoist, featuring 7 white stars, with the rest of the pennant consisting of alternating red and white stripes. The commissioning pennant is flown to signify that a ship has been formally commissioned and is an active part of the Navy. Narrow pennants of this kind have been used for thousands of years and can be seen in ancient Egyptian art and medieval European manuscripts, where they served as symbols of distinction for naval ships. Earlier American commissioning pennants featured 13 white stars, representing the original 13 states. Smaller 7-star pennants were later introduced, though the reason for this change remains unclear. The number 7 may have been chosen for its symbolic significance in Christian and Jewish traditions, or simply for its aesthetic appeal. I found this hammer at my grandma's house, and it belonged to her father, who was a carpenter. Does anyone know what this hammer is used for? The hammer you've discovered is known as a Warrington hammer, also referred to as a joiner's hammer or pin hammer. This tool is traditionally used in woodworking, particularly for driving small nails or pins with precision. The origins of the Warrington hammer date back to the mid-19th century, with its name likely derived from the town of Warrington in England. When I was about 4 or 5 years old during my visits to my grandmother, she would occasionally give me a hammer just like this one, along with small nails. She wanted me to learn how to drive nails properly, and back then, I found it incredibly fun and fascinating. I have an object about 25 centimeters high. The stand seems to be made of bronze, and the ring on top consists of many separate wooden pieces. I got it from an auction in Germany, where it was part of a larger lot, containing curiosities ranging from 80 to 500 years old from around the world. The metal base is much heavier than the top, so it stands firmly without any issue. Does anyone know what this might be? The item you've acquired appears to be a kalabubu, a traditional stiff circular necklace from South Nias, an island in North Sumatra, Indonesia. Historically, the kalabubu was worn by warriors as a symbol of triumph in warfare and heroism. It was believed to offer protection to the wearer, and only those who had decapitated an enemy were permitted to wear it, earning it the nickname Headhunter's Necklace. The kalabubu is typically constructed with a metal frame, often made of brass or iron, and adorned with polished slices of coconut shell, or sometimes turtle shell. These slices are carefully arranged to create a smooth, blackened surface. The necklace's shape is distinct with a central part that is thicker and gradually tapers towards the ends, which are often connected by a brass or gold disc. In Nayas culture, the kalabubu holds significant cultural value, representing masculinity, status, and warrior prestige. While it was traditionally reserved for those who had proven their bravery in battle in modern times, it is worn more broadly among Nayas men and features in ceremonial dances and cultural celebrations. I found a small metallic object, estimated to be about 80 to 100 years old, roughly the size of a baby carrot. It has some moving pieces and appears to be entirely made of metal. It came in a wooden box with a carved outline specifically shaped to fit this object, suggesting it's complete on its own. Does anyone know what this might be and what it was used for? The object you found is a phleem, a handheld instrument historically used for bloodletting, a once common medical practice believed to treat various ailments by withdrawing blood. In earlier times, it was thought that bloodletting could restore balance to the body's humors and help cure a wide range of illnesses. The term phleem originates from the Greek word phlebotomy, meaning to cut a blood vessel. Phleems have been in use since ancient times, with early examples dating back to the Anglo-Saxon period. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the design became more refined, often featuring right-angled steel blades and a brass or metal casing for durability and precision. Phleems typically came with multiple blades of different sizes, allowing the user to choose the most appropriate one, depending on the intended procedure. The blade would be carefully positioned and gently tapped with a small wooden stick to create an opening. This method was designed to be controlled and precise, minimizing unnecessary damage and ensuring a clean procedure. While phleems were occasionally used for human bloodletting, they were far more commonly employed in veterinary medicine, particularly for treating horses and cattle. For humans, smaller tools like thumb lancets were generally preferred for their precision and ease of use. I found a square plastic object, about 24 inches on each side, with V-shaped channels filled with glass beads at an altitude of 12,000 feet on top of a mountain. It seems to have a small sensor on one side. Does anyone know what this might have been used for? The object you've discovered appears to be a bee watering station, designed to provide bees with a safe place to hydrate without the risk of drowning. The V-shaped channels filled with glass beads serve as landing platforms, allowing bees to access water safely. Bee watering stations are especially important in arid or high-altitude environments where natural water sources can be scarce. Providing a consistent water source helps support local pollinator populations, which play a crucial role in maintaining biodiversity and aiding in the pollination of various plant species. If you're interested in supporting local bee populations, you can also set up a bee house in your area. I've talked about bee houses in one of my previous videos, which you can check out by clicking the link in the description. I found a small metal object at a thrift store in the United States. It's about 2 to 3 inches long and appears to be a container of some sort. The metal looks like it has been folded together and shaped, and while it's slightly magnetic in some parts, it's not strongly so. The object is also very lightweight. Does anyone know what this might have been used for? The object you've discovered appears to be a beetle nut box, a small container traditionally used to store ingredients for beetle chewing. Beetle chewing is a practice common in many parts of South and Southeast Asia, involving the chewing of areca nut wrapped in beetle leaves, often combined with slaked lime and other flavorings. This practice was not only a social and cultural ritual, but also valued for its mild stimulant effects, helping to reduce fatigue and suppress hunger. In addition to beetle nut boxes, similar small containers were also used for storing snuff, a powdered tobacco product that was particularly popular in Europe during the 17th and 18th centuries. I have an antique optical device with wooden end pieces, a metal middle section, and glass lenses on both sides. It comes apart, and when you look through it, everything appears upside down. It's from Germany, circa 1870, and was inherited by my grandfather from his grandfather. Does anyone know what this might be or what it was used for? The object you've described is most likely an antique pocket microscope from Germany, circa 1870. These compact portable microscopes were popular during the 18th and 19th centuries and were primarily used by botanists, naturalists, and hobbyists for field observations. Their small size and portability made them ideal tools for examining specimens in outdoor environments or while traveling. The inverted image seen when looking through it is a typical feature of early microscopes and is caused by the lens configuration. When light passes through the convex lenses of a simple microscope, it crosses at the focal point, causing the image to flip upside down and reverse horizontally. I found these hand-forged crescent-shaped pliers that appear to be designed for cutting. The blades don't fully meet even when the tool is completely closed. There are no visible letters or numbers, but they are well crafted and seem sturdy. Could these be veterinary tools, or were they used for something else? The tool you found is known as sugar nips, a type of pliers traditionally used for cutting and breaking sugar from large, solid sugar loaves. Before granulated sugar became common in the late 19th century, sugar was typically sold in hard conical loaves. These loaves were too dense to break apart by hand, so specialized tools like sugar nips were essential in households and shops. The crescent-shaped blades were designed to grip and cut small chunks of sugar from the loaf. The fact that the blades don't fully close is intentional, as sugar nips weren't meant for precision cutting, but rather for exerting enough force to crack and break off pieces of sugar. Sugar nips were common from the 17th to the 19th centuries, especially in European households where tea, coffee, and desserts were popular. I found a small bronze container with a screw cap and a small stick inside. It measures approximately 5 inches long, 2 inches wide, and 4 inches tall. On top, there's a loop with a small gap possibly designed to hold something thin, like a business card. I picked it up at a flea market. Does anyone know what this might be or what it was used for? The object you found appears to be a take-it pocket stove, a compact and portable gasoline stove popular in the mid-20th century. Manufactured by the Travelers Equipment Company in Grand Rapids, Michigan, this stove was specifically designed for campers, hikers, and travelers who needed a lightweight and efficient cooking solution in outdoor settings. The stove's design includes a screw cap that seals the fuel reservoir, preventing leaks and evaporation. Inside, an internal wick and coil system works to vaporize the gasoline efficiently, ensuring a consistent fuel flow for stable operation. To operate the stove, users would fill the reservoir with gasoline, allowing the wick to become fully saturated. When lit, the fuel vaporizes as it passes through the coil system, producing a steady, controlled flame suitable for cooking or boiling water in a variety of outdoor conditions. I found this object in an old church in rural Pennsylvania. It's about 9 inches long from base to tip, 2 inches wide, and weighs around 1 pound. It appears to be made of brass or bronze. There are inscriptions on both sides of the object. It looks like some kind of tool or fixture. Does anyone know what this could have been used for? What you found is an oyster knife, specifically an early patented design by George Hufnagel from New Hope, Pennsylvania, dated March 24, 1868. This design was the second ever patented oyster knife in the United States. The knife was crafted to address a common problem with traditional oyster knives of the time. Older designs required the user to grasp the blade and then reverse it to use the handle as a hammer to break the oyster shell's edge. Hufnagel's design incorporated a crossbar at the handle's end, allowing it to be used as a hammer without the need to flip the knife, making the process more efficient and cleaner. The inscription Maltese you mentioned likely refers to Malta Island, a nearby industrial area in New Hope, Pennsylvania, suggesting that the knife was manufactured there. I found this all-metal object in a junkyard minivan under a seat. It's slightly larger than my open hand, made of hard metal that doesn't bend easily. The middle part spins, but it doesn't come out and there are no markings anywhere on it. It seems sturdy and might have an automotive purpose. Does anyone know what this could be? What you found seems to represent a symbol of Ochosi, one of the Orishas, divine spirits or deities in the Yoruba religion, particularly honored in Santeria. Orishas are powerful spiritual entities, often seen as intermediaries between humanity and the supreme god Olodumare. Ochosi is revered as the hunter, protector, and lord of justice, often called upon by those seeking fairness and guidance in legal matters. He is symbolized by a bow and arrow, representing precision, focus, and his exceptional hunting skills. In Santeria, tools representing Ochosi, such as small bows and arrows, are often paired with those of Ogun, another Orisha. Ogun, the Orisha of iron, war, and labor, wields a machete to carve paths through obstacles. Together, they form a powerful team. Ochosi identifies and targets the prey with his bow, while Ogun clears the path with his machete. These metal symbols are often placed on altars dedicated to Ochosi and Ogun, representing their unity and complementary powers. What is this strange metallic object? It's about 8 inches long, made from what seems to be aluminum or another lightweight metal. The design features a smooth, cylindrical body with 4 curved prongs on one end. It looks like it could be a specialized tool, or maybe part of a larger mechanical system. Any ideas about its purpose? The object you found is a rifle-launched grapnel hook, a specialized tool developed for combat engineering purposes. These devices are designed to be launched from rifles like the M16 or M4, allowing soldiers to clear obstacles such as tripwires or barbed wire from a safe distance. The concept of launching grappling hooks from firearms has been explored to enhance the safety and efficiency of military operations. By attaching the grapnel to the muzzle of a rifle and firing a blank cartridge, the hook can be propelled forward to engage and clear obstacles without exposing soldiers to direct danger. I found this unusual silver spoon in a Scandinavian home. It has an egg-shaped blade and a very short handle. The spoon features decorative imagery. Does anyone know what this type of spoon was intended for and what its purpose might have been? What you found is a caddy spoon, a specialized silver spoon historically used for measuring dried tea leaves from a tea caddy to a teapot. The caddy spoon emerged alongside the rising popularity of tea in Europe when tea was considered a luxury commodity and stored in secure containers called tea caddies. These spoons were designed to carefully measure and transfer precious tea leaves, ensuring no waste. Early caddy spoon designs were often inspired by shell shapes, reflecting tools found in tea chests imported from Asia. Over time, the designs evolved, incorporating intricate patterns, leaf shapes, and other decorative motifs. Caddy spoons were typically crafted from precious metals like silver, valued not only for their elegance, but also for preventing any contamination of the delicate tea flavors. Prominent silversmiths, such as the Bateman family, became renowned for their exquisite caddy spoon designs. I found an unusual object with movable parts attached to springs and a small mirror near a crank. I can't find anything that indicates a manufacturer, year of assembly, or any identifying marks. This leads me to believe it might be handmade and never part of mass production. Does anyone know what this might be or what it could have been used for? What you've found is a snuff tobacco machine designed for enjoying powdered tobacco through the nose. While it looks functional, it's actually more of a gag gift or novelty item crafted to add humor to social gatherings. These machines are rooted in Bavaria's long tradition of snuff-taking, where powdered tobacco played an important cultural role. The design includes a small mirror for aiming, a crank with a brush for cleaning the nose, and often a drawer for storing snuff tobacco with a measuring spoon included. To use it, tobacco is placed in the designated spots. The user aligns their nostrils with the help of the mirror and then pulls a lever to deliver the snuff. If anything goes wrong, the brush and crank are there for cleanup. I found these vintage metal pliers with several markings on them. From what I understand, Mars refers to the manufacturer, and 1912 might indicate the year of production. The pliers measure about 5 inches wide and 8.5 inches long. Does anyone know what these pliers were specifically used for? What you found are saw-set pliers, a specialized tool widely used in the early 20th century to adjust the teeth of a handsaw. Over time, a saw's teeth would bend, dull, or lose their alignment, making cutting difficult and inefficient. These pliers allowed craftsmen to carefully bend each tooth outward in alternating directions, creating a slightly wider kerf, the groove left by the saw in the wood. This adjustment prevented the saw blade from binding in the cut and ensured a smoother, more efficient sawing process. In an era when replacing a saw blade was costly, sharpening and resetting the teeth were standard maintenance practices, and tools like saw-set pliers were indispensable in woodworking shops and households. However, as mass production made saws more affordable and disposable, the use of these tools gradually declined. I found this nautical-related brass item mounted in a wooden box. It looks somewhat like a compass, but it doesn't point north. This item was among my grandfather's belongings. He served in the Navy during World War II, and his father was in the Coast Guard before that. Does anyone know what this object is and what it was used for? What you found is a pylorus, a navigational instrument that resembles a compass but lacks magnetic properties. Unlike a traditional compass, a pylorus doesn't indicate magnetic north. Instead, it's used to measure relative bearings of objects from the ship's heading, allowing mariners to determine the angular distance between the vessel's bow and points of interest, such as landmarks, buoys, or other ships. The pylorus has a long and rich history. with its origins tracing back to ancient navigation practices. The instrument is said to be named after Pelorus, who served as Hannibal's pilot around 203 BC. Additionally, ancient Polynesian navigators used similar tools, relying on the consistent positions of rising and setting stars to guide their voyages across vast stretches of the Pacific Ocean. In practical use, a Pelorus consists of a circular card marked with degrees, mounted in such a way that it remains fixed relative to the ship's heading. Attached sighting vanes or a telescope allow for precise alignment with observed objects. By measuring the angle between the ship's bow and a target, navigators can plot positions, check compass deviations, and assist in course setting. This was especially useful when magnetic compasses proved unreliable or when sailing through regions with magnetic anomalies. During World War II, Peloruses were standard equipment on naval vessels. They played an essential role in convoy navigation, coastal piloting, and artillery targeting, offering reliable guidance in critical situations. I noticed a tall green metal structure beside the road on Palisades Drive in Pacific Palisades, California. It has alternating rows of square holes at the top, but no markings. Does anyone know what it is and what it's for? The green metal structure you described is most likely a methane vent. Los Angeles sits atop vast oil fields, and vents like this one are commonly used to safely release methane gas that naturally accumulates underground as a byproduct of oil extraction. These vents help prevent dangerous gas buildup, which could otherwise lead to explosions or other hazards. A well-known example of natural oil seepage is the La Brea tar pits, where tar and oil continue to bubble up to the surface. In some parts of the city, asphalt and parking lots and sidewalks can remain soft due to tar oozing from below. In earlier times, homeowners in neighborhoods like Beverly Hills even received monthly checks for the oil extracted from beneath their land. I found an unusual box with compartments in the lid and a felt-lined interior. When fully opened, the box is slightly sloped, and there's another compartment on the opposite side that cannot be directly accessed, but has an opening into it. Does anyone know what this box was intended for and how it might have been used? What you've found is an antique writing slope, also known as a writing box or lap desk, a popular item in the late 18th and 19th centuries. These portable desks provided a convenient and ergonomic surface for writing, especially for travelers, military officers, or individuals without access to a full-sized writing desk. When fully opened, the slightly sloped surface created a comfortable angle for writing, making long writing sessions easier. Writing slopes were indispensable in an era when letter writing was a primary means of communication, and their design reflects both practicality and craftsmanship. I found this device in a bomb shelter. It has a crank, a two-prong plug, and was connected to a pipe coming from the wall. It seems like it might have been part of an essential system, but I can't figure out what it was used for. Does anyone know what this device is and how it might have functioned? What you've found is a manual air filtration system, specifically designed for use in bomb shelters to provide a supply of clean, breathable air during emergencies. These systems became especially common during the Cold War era, when the fear of nuclear fallout led to the construction of fallout shelters equipped with air filtration systems capable of functioning without electricity. The two-prong plug suggests that the device could also be powered electrically when conditions allowed. Systems like these, often referred to as nuclear, biological, and chemical air filtration systems, were designed to maintain breathable air in enclosed spaces. They protected occupants from hazardous airborne threats such as radioactive particles, toxic gases, or biological contaminants. I found a patent issued to Frank Swanson, dated October 31st, 1962, titled Fallout Shelter Ventilator. The patent explains the operating principle of the system, detailing how it ensures a steady airflow in enclosed spaces even in the absence of electricity. I found this mysterious object on the floor behind some furniture in my rental kitchen while cleaning behind a counter with a drawer. It looks like some kind of tool, but I can't figure out how it interacts with any screws or furniture components. Strangely, it looks almost pristine, even though most of the kitchen fixtures are over 30 years old and have yellowed from everyday use. Does anyone know what this item might be and what it's used for? What you've found is a twist key can opener, commonly used to open cans of processed meats, like Spam or corned beef. These tools were typically attached to the top or bottom of the can. To open the can, you would detach the key, insert the metal tab from the can into the key's slot, and then twist it to roll back a pre-scored metal strip, allowing the can to open. This method was widely used from the mid-20th century and can still be found on certain canned products today. The twist key can opener was patented by J. Osterhout in 1866. Each can came with a spot-welded or soldered-on twist key opener, designed to snap off after bending a thin section of metal repeatedly. This simple yet effective mechanism became a defining feature of canned meats like Spam, making them instantly recognizable. Interestingly, the term spam, referring to unwanted digital messages, actually originates from the 1970 Monty Python sketch Spam, from the television series Monty Python's Flying Circus. In the sketch, set in a cafe, a waitress reads out a menu where every item but one contains Spam canned meat.
Spam egg, spam, bacon and spam. Spam, egg and spam. Spam, baked beans, spam and spam.
The repetitive and unavoidable nature of the word spam in the sketch became a metaphor for persistent, unwanted digital communication, a meaning that has stuck with us to this day. I have a pendant that matches the one worn by a British Army soldier in this photograph from the 1880s. The soldier is dressed in his army uniform on his wedding day and had previously been stationed in India. Does anyone recognize this pendant or know what it might represent? What you have is a watch winding key, a specialized tool used to wind and set the time on pocket watches. These keys were commonly used from the 16th century until the late 19th century, when key-wound pocket watches were gradually replaced by stem-wind mechanisms. To wind the watch, the owner would open the back of the watch case and use the key to turn the winding arbor or adjust the hands. These keys varied in size and design, often reflecting the social status of their owners. Wealthier individuals might have keys made of gold or intricately decorated metals, while more practical versions were crafted from brass or steel. I found a flexible rubber tool with a garden hose-sized connection on one end among a deceased relative's belongings. Unfortunately, I can't ask him what it is, and none of us sorting through his things could figure it out. The writing on the side lists a range of sizes, which suggests it might be designed to inflate under pressure. Does anyone know what this could be or what it's used for? What you have is a drain cleaning tool, commonly referred to as a drain bladder or blow bag, designed to clear clogs in pipes using water pressure. These tools became popular in the mid-20th century as a reusable and eco-friendly alternative to chemical drain cleaners. To use it, the tool is attached to a standard garden hose and inserted into a clogged pipe, typically with a diameter between 1.5 and 3 inches. When the water supply is turned on, the rubber bladder inflates, sealing tightly against the walls of the pipe. Once fully inflated, water is forced through a nozzle at the end, creating a high-pressure stream that dislodges the clog and flushes it away. The idea of using water pressure to clear blockages dates back decades, with patents for similar devices appearing in the mid-20th century. For example, a 1965 patent for an inflatable pipe plug introduced a similar concept, which became the foundation for modern designs. While walking along a trail in my small Ontario town, I noticed 3 or 4 of these blue metal posts along the way. Does anyone know what these are and what they're used for? What you found is a monitoring well, commonly used for observing and collecting data on groundwater levels and quality. These wells are an essential part of modern water management, helping communities monitor their water resources and detect potential issues like contamination or depletion. Monitoring wells, as we know them today, became widespread in the mid-20th century, with the rise of industrialization and urbanization, which heightened the need for sustainable water resource management. However, their origins trace back to the late 19th century, when hydrologists began using piezometers, simple tubes designed to measure water pressure and levels. By the early 20th century, these devices evolved into more advanced systems capable of collecting samples for chemical analysis, laying the foundation for the modern monitoring wells we rely on today. The blue metal casing you've seen is a modern design that reflects decades of innovation in groundwater monitoring. It serves multiple purposes: protecting the wellhead from physical damage, safeguarding the sensitive instruments housed inside, and ensuring that only authorized personnel can access the well for sampling or maintenance. I found this heavy metal object, possibly made of iron, buried in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada, back in the 1970s. It has a slot on one side and a hollowed-out bottom. Does anyone know what this could be and what it was used for? What you found appears to be the blade of a spontoon, a type of pole weapon commonly used in the 17th and 18th centuries. Spontoons featured a spear-like blade often adorned with decorative elements and were mounted on a wooden pole using the cylindrical socket at the base, transforming them into functional and versatile weapons. Spontoons served a dual purpose during their time. In battle, they were used by military officers to signal troop movements and as secondary weapons for thrusting and defensive maneuvers. Outside of combat, they symbolized the authority and rank of the officer who carried them. By the 19th century, as firearms became more widespread and effective, spontoons fell out of use and were largely replaced by other symbols of rank such as sabers. The presence of this artifact in Sydney, Nova Scotia may be linked to British military activities in the region during the colonial period. British forces often carried such weapons while stationed in North America. I found a strange wooden kitchen tool in our Airbnb in Florida. It's about the size of a spatula, with a wooden bulb at one end. Does anyone know what this might be used for? The tool you found is called a molinillo, a traditional wooden whisk widely used in Mexico to prepare hot chocolate and other similar beverages. This iconic kitchen tool has a rich cultural history dating back to the 16th century, when Spanish colonists introduced it as a method to froth chocolate drinks, which were already cherished by the indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica. To use a molinillo, chocolate tablets are added to a pot or cup of hot milk. The whisk is then rolled between the palms, mixing and frothing the drink until a layer of foam forms on the surface. This frothy top is a signature characteristic of Mexican-style hot chocolate, giving it its unique texture and enhancing its flavor. One of the most beloved drinks prepared with a molinillo is champurrado, a thick and rich beverage made with corn flour, unrefined sugar, and chocolate. This traditional drink is especially popular during holidays such as Dia de los Muertos and Las Posadas, adding warmth and sweetness to festive celebrations. I found this strange metal tool with a wooden handle at an antique shop. The markings on the metal part say Dixon & Sons 1106. It looks old, and I have no idea what it was used for. Could someone help me figure out what this might be? What you found is an adjustable shot measure, a tool specifically designed for measuring shot when reloading shotgun shells. It was manufactured by Dixon & Sons, a renowned company based in Sheffield, England, during the late 1800s. The model number 1106 refers to this particular brass shot measure, which was commonly paired with the 1105 powder measure to form a complete reloading set for shotgun enthusiasts of the time. The adjustable shot measure allowed users to accurately measure the amount of shot for various sizes and types. This adjustable design was particularly beneficial because shot of different sizes occupies different volumes. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, tools like this were indispensable for hunters and sport shooters, especially before factory-loaded shotgun shells became widely available. I found a rock with a grid of small indents on the beach along the east coast of Scotland. The indents could be man-made or natural, but there were no other related objects nearby. Does anyone know what these might be or how they were formed? What you found is likely a stigmaria, a fossilized tree root from an ancient plant species that lived during the Carboniferous period around 300 million years ago. These plants were part of the Lycopsid family, which included giant tree-like plants that thrived in prehistoric swamps and coal forests. The grid of small indents you observed on the rock are actually rootlet scars, where smaller roots were once attached to the larger main roots. These scars are typically arranged in spiral or grid-like patterns, which can appear so symmetrical and organized that they are often mistaken for man-made structures. Stigmaria fossils are quite common in areas that were once part of ancient swamp environments, such as the east coast of Scotland, where you found this specimen. During the Carboniferous period, this region was covered in dense forests that eventually turned into the coal deposits we mine today. These fossils provide valuable clues about the ecosystems of that time and the incredible diversity of plant life that existed millions of years ago. I found this mostly wooden tool at a family member's house who was an antique collector. It's 20 inches long and 3.75 inches wide, with two metal plates screwed onto it. The inside edges of the metal plates have small teeth. Does anyone know what this might be used for? What you've found is a pair of washing tongs, a tool commonly used in the past to handle laundry during the washing process. These tools were essential in the days before modern washing machines, especially when clothes were boiled in large tubs or coppers to remove dirt and stains. The small teeth along the edges of the metal plates were designed to provide a firm grip on wet fabric, making it easier to lift heavy, water-soaked laundry from boiling water or rinsed tubs. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, boiling laundry was a common practice for sanitation and stain removal. In a time before chemical detergents and modern washing machines, boiling water was used to kill bacteria and loosen dirt from clothes. After boiling, items were often transferred to a rinse tub, where washing tongs like the one you found would help prevent burns from handling scalding hot fabric. I found this unusual item hanging on the wall in an Airbnb we're staying at. The family who owns the house had no idea what it is. Can anyone help identify this object and its purpose? What you found is a vintage wall-mounted intercom, an early communication device often used in homes and offices during the early to mid-20th century. Specifically, this intercom was manufactured by the Connecticut Telephone and Electric Company, based in Meriden, Connecticut. The company was well known for producing innovative communication devices during this period, including early telephones and intercom systems. This particular intercom features a mouthpiece, a small speaker, and old-style telephone wiring, allowing for two-way communication between rooms in a house or building. Devices like this were often mounted on walls in kitchens, hallways, or near entrances to allow quick communication without the need for shouting or physically moving between rooms. I found this unknown tool at a thrift shop, marked as such. It's approximately 7 inches long and appears to be made of brass. It fits nicely between my middle and ring finger, resembling a push dagger, but it's not particularly sharp. Does anyone know what this might be or what it was used for? What you found is a fid, a tool commonly used in rope splicing to help manipulate and weave rope strands when creating secure loops or splices. Fids are typically made of wood, metal, or brass, as in your case, and are shaped to fit comfortably in the hand for precise control during use. The fid is an essential tool for tasks such as creating eye splices, back splices, or joining two ropes together. The tool helps open up the strands of rope, making it easier to insert another strand or tuck them neatly into place. Rope splicing has been a critical skill for sailors, climbers, and others who rely on strong, durable rope connections, and the fid has played a key role in perfecting this technique. I found this old item in the back of the house. It came in a black box lined with red fabric, and inside were two identical pieces. Each is a stick about 3 feet long. One end has a metal cup roughly 1 inch in diameter and 4 inches long, while the other end has a metal hook. The box had an engraved message stating it was a gift from my grandfather, along with his name. Does anyone know what this might be or how it was used? What you found is a venencia, a traditional tool used to draw wine from barrels, specifically in the production of sherry. The tool has its origins in the Jerez region of Spain and has been an essential part of sherry making for over 150 years. The venencia's design is highly functional. The narrow cup is used to extract wine from the barrel without disturbing the layer of flor, a natural yeast that forms on top of the wine and plays a crucial role in the aging process. The hook at the other end allows the venencia to be hung when not in use. Originally, venencias were made of materials like silver and whalebone, but modern versions are often crafted from stainless steel and fiberglass. Beyond its practicality, the venencia is a symbol of tradition and skill in sherry production. A skilled venenciador, the person using the tool, performs a precise, almost artistic motion to extract the wine and pour it from above head height, aerating the wine as it flows into the glass. Mastering the venencia requires years of practice, and it is considered both a craft and an art form. Unfortunately, the number of true venenciadors has dwindled, making their craft a rare and valuable tradition. Interestingly, the word venencia is thought to come from the Spanish word avenencia, meaning agreement. Historically, sharing a glass of wine poured with a venencia was a way to confirm a wine sale. Today, most venencias are produced as souvenirs for tourists, with only about 1% still used as working tools in bodegas. I found these little plastic objects with chains attached, each in a different color and with different labels on them. Does anyone know what they are? What you found are keychain photo viewers, also known as scopes. These small plastic objects were popular as souvenirs and were often sold at tourist destinations like beaches, amusement parks, and other attractions during the mid to late 20th century. The sales process was simple. An employee would take a picture of visitors and give them a ticket. A few hours later, visitors could return to a booth, show the ticket, review their photos, and purchase the keychain with their personalized image inside. Each keychain typically contains a tiny lens that allows the user to look inside and view a small image or series of images, often depicting scenic locations associated with the place where it was purchased. By holding the keychain up to a light source and looking through the lens, the user could see a clear, magnified image inside. I found this small circular device with a colorful dial and a metal handle. It looks like it might be used for measuring something, but I'm not sure what exactly. Does anyone know what this is and how it's used? What you've found is an opisometer, also known as a map measurer or curvimeter. This tool is designed to measure distances on maps by tracing the small wheel along a route. The device's colorful dial corresponds to different map scales, allowing the needle to show the real-world distance based on the scale selected. Opisometers like this were widely used in the 19th and 20th centuries, especially by cartographers, geographers, and travelers. Before the advent of digital maps and GPS, they were invaluable for accurately calculating distances on maps with irregular or curved routes, such as roads, rivers, or hiking trails. The early versions of this instrument were patented in 1873 by Edward Russell Morris, an English engineer. Initially referred to as a patent chartometer, later models were sold under the unusual name Wheelamethna. Morris intentionally created this original name to confuse imitators and refused to disclose its origin, as he explained in 1881. I found these old glass things in an antique store. Each one has 4 small pictures on it, and most of them are numbered in the top corner. Does anyone know what they are? What you found are magic lantern slides, a type of glass slide used in early projection devices called magic lanterns. These slides, often featuring colorful illustrations like the ones you found, were popular during the 19th and early 20th centuries as a form of entertainment and education. The magic lantern, a precursor to modern projectors, used a light source to project images from the slides onto a wall or screen. These devices were widely used for storytelling, lectures, and even theatrical performances. The slides were typically hand-painted or made using decal techniques, and many were numbered to ensure they were shown in the correct order during presentations. They were commonly produced in Europe, particularly in Germany, where manufacturers like Ernst Planck specialized in their creation. This brass object has been sitting by the fireplace for as long as I can remember, and no one in my family knows what it is. Does anyone have any idea what this might be? What you've found is a goffering iron, a tool used in the 18th and 19th centuries to iron and shape ruffles, ribbons, and other delicate fabrics. The goffering iron consists of a hollow, cylindrical tube mounted on a stand. To use it, a metal rod, often called a heater, was heated in the fireplace until red hot, and then inserted into the tube to warm it. Once the tube was heated, fabric would be carefully wrapped around it to press and shape it into neat pleats or waves. Goffering irons were particularly popular during the Victorian era, when ruffled and pleated clothing was in high demand. They were commonly found in well-to-do households or as part of a professional laundress's toolkit. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as fashion trends evolved and more modern ironing tools became available, the use of goffering irons gradually declined. I found this sharp steel object in a box of miscellaneous items. It has a coarsely threaded end that looks like it could attach to a handle, and its unusual shape suggests it might have a specific purpose. There's no visible numbering or markings on it. Does anyone know what this could be? What you found is a Scotchette survival tool, an innovative multi-purpose tool designed for survivalists and outdoor enthusiasts. Invented in 1962 by Herbert Frisbee, it became popular for its versatility and practicality. This tool was designed to serve as a hunting knife, hatchet, and hammer, all in one compact tool that could be conveniently carried on a belt. The tool features coarse threading on one end, allowing users to attach a stick approximately 1 inch in diameter to create a makeshift handle. This handle could be secured tightly by threading it into the tool without the need for pins or wedges, making it quick and easy to set up in the field. The blade's profile was specifically crafted to function efficiently as a wedge for chopping and splitting tasks, especially when mounted on a longer handle of about 17 inches. This adaptability and ingenuity made this survival tool a standout among similar items of its time. I found this object in a Western-themed hotel. It's about 12 inches long, made of wood, and wrapped in soft, supple leather. Does anyone know what this is and how it's used? What you found is a boot jack, a tool designed to help remove boots without needing to bend down or struggle with pulling them off by hand. Boot jacks have been in use for centuries, especially in regions where high boots were commonly worn, such as the American West. The tool works by anchoring the heel of one boot in the opening at the top of the jack, while the other foot is used to step on the base for stability. The leverage provided by the jack allows the boot to be easily pulled off, making it particularly useful for removing tall riding boots that could be difficult to take off after a long day. I found this dry, brittle object in the trunk of my car. It falls apart when touched. Does anyone know what this is? What you've found are whelk egg cases, often called mermaids' necklaces because of their distinctive appearance. These brittle, dried structures are the egg casings of whelks, a type of marine mollusk, and are commonly found washed up on beaches. Whelks, such as the knobbed whelk, are predatory sea snails that are native to the Atlantic coast of the United States. During reproduction, female whelks produce long strings of egg cases with each string containing numerous capsules. Inside each capsule, multiple eggs develop into young whelks. Once they hatch, the casings are left behind, eventually becoming dry and brittle. These strings are often carried ashore by waves or left underwater, attached to hard surfaces. Depending on the species, these egg cases can range from just a few inches to several feet in length. Their unique design provides protection to the developing embryos, shielding them from predators and environmental hazards. Made of a durable protein material, the egg cases remain intact underwater but become fragile and crumble when dried. I found this in an old silverware set from the 1950s. It's a little shorter than a teaspoon, with a pointed tip but no sharp edges. The handle appears to be actual silver, while the left side might be stainless steel and measures about 3 inches long. What you found is an orange peeler, a specialized utensil designed to remove the peel of an orange without soiling your hands or damaging the fruit. This tool was particularly popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The orange peeler was produced in various sizes, including table-sized versions and portable pocket-sized ones. The pocket-sized models often came in leather sheaths, while table-sized versions were presented in plush-lined boxes, making them suitable for formal dining occasions. One notable manufacturer was Rogers & Brother, a well-known producer of silverware during this era. To use the orange peeler, the hook on the tool is inserted into the orange's peel with a slight amount of pressure, creating sections as the orange is rotated in one hand and the peeler is pulled in the opposite direction. Once the peel is segmented, the blade on the back of the tool can be used to remove any remaining white pith, leaving the fruit clean and intact. I found this heavy, well-made wooden object measuring 22 by 26 inches in the attic of a very old house in Connecticut years ago, and I have no idea what it is. It has a company name embossed on each piece, Kuffel & Esser Company, New York. It has 3 legs that pop out and hold down a hinged wooden plank. Underneath the plank is a wool-like material, and the bottom is solid glass. Does anyone know what this could be? What you found is a tilting photographic contact printing frame manufactured by Kuffel & Esser Company during the early 20th century. Kuffel & Esser Company, established in 1867 in New York, was renowned for its precision tools and drafting equipment. These frames were used in the cyanotype and blueprinting processes, as well as other early photographic reproduction methods. They were particularly popular among architects and engineers, as they were essential for producing blueprints and technical drawings. The hinged wooden plank held the light-sensitive paper and the transparency, or negative, in place, ensuring proper contact between them. The wool-like material you mentioned provided cushioning and even pressure during the exposure process. The solid glass bottom ensured that the paper and the negative were perfectly aligned and pressed together. These frames were often mounted near a window or used outdoors, where sunlight would expose the light-sensitive material. After exposure, the frame would be opened to remove the developed blueprint or photograph. What is this long glass utensil from Sweden? It measures about 3 feet in length, is hollow like a pipe, and appears to be made for outdoor use, possibly for cooking. Does anyone know what it might have been used for? What you've found is a glassblower's grill. This unique item, approximately 3 feet long, is made of the heat-resistant glass and was traditionally used in Sweden during meals to help keep food warm for extended periods. Its hollow, pipe-like design allowed it to be filled with hot water, making it especially useful in colder conditions. The handle was often wrapped in birch bark for insulation. Initially, this item was primarily used by glassblowers. By the mid-20th century, however, similar designs began appearing in everyday households. It was commonly used during picnics and communal meals. I found these old scissors with a unique design. The blade is marked with what appears to be the initials AP. The metal looks aged and slightly rusted. Does anyone know what these scissors were used for? What you found is a pair of betel nut scissors, traditionally used in various cultures to cut areca nuts, commonly referred to as betel nuts. These nuts are often chewed for their stimulant effects, particularly in regions like Southeast Asia and India. Betel nut scissors are typically handcrafted from metals such as bronze or iron. Their design varies across regions, often featuring intricate engravings or unique shapes. For instance, some Indian designs from the early 20th century were crafted from bronze and display remarkable attention to detail. These scissors were used to prepare betel quid, a mixture in which the sliced areca nut is wrapped in betel leaves along with other ingredients for chewing. I found this small metal multi-tool in the home of my first-generation uncle, whose family immigrated to the United States from Italy in the early 1900s. The tool has 4 features: a hook, a slightly curved scoop, a blade, and a pencil. There's also a loop at the top, possibly for wearing it as a necklace or attaching it to a keychain. Does anyone know what this tool is and what it was used for? The small metal multi-tool you found is a Victorian iTwee, a compact toolkit that became popular during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These accessories were crafted with a focus on both functionality and elegance, commonly used throughout Europe, particularly in England and Italy. They often included essentials for personal grooming, sewing, or small repairs. The tools in your example, a hook, a scoop, a blade, and a pencil, indicate it might have been used for clothing maintenance or other practical household tasks. The loop on top suggests it was designed to be worn on a chain or attached to a chatelaine, a decorative belt clip popular among Victorian women for carrying everyday essentials. Crafted from materials like brass or silver, they often featured ornate engravings, making them symbols of sophistication and status, in addition to being practical items. Their decline in use came with the advent of modern tools and accessories, but they remain valuable as historical artifacts reflecting the culture and artistry of their time. I found this rusted metal object about 100 feet underground in an old cave or mine. It is approximately 2 feet tall and has pipes attached to it. There's an electrical wire wrapped around the base. Does anyone know what this could be? What you've found is a hydraulic ram pump, an ingenious device developed in the late 18th century to transport water from a lower elevation to a higher one without relying on external power. This pump operates using the natural momentum of flowing water, making it both sustainable and highly efficient. The hydraulic ram pump was invented in 1796 by Joseph Montgolfier, originally for use in his paper mill. It was later patented in Britain by Matthew Boulton in 1797. During the 19th century, these pumps became widely popular for their ability to supply water to farms, rural homes, and mines using only the flow of a nearby stream or river. This made them invaluable in remote areas where electricity was unavailable. Typically made from durable materials like cast iron, hydraulic ram pumps were designed to withstand years of use. However, their widespread application began to decline in the early 20th century with the introduction of electrically powered pumps, which offered greater flexibility and efficiency. A relative who traveled extensively passed away, and this object was found at her house. We have no other details about its origin or purpose. The oval ball in the center is loose and moves around when shaken. The owner frequently traveled abroad, so it might not necessarily be American. Does anyone know what this is or what it might have been used for? The object you found is a Fijian cannibal fork. known locally as Aikula Nibokola. These unique utensils were used in Fiji during the 19th century for ceremonial practices associated with cannibalistic rituals, which were a deeply ingrained part of Fijian culture at the time. The fork's design, often featuring 4 prongs, allowed high-ranking chiefs to be fed without touching food with their hands, as they were considered too sacred to handle such items directly. Crafted from durable hardwoods and sometimes adorned with intricate carvings, these forks were both symbolic and functional. Cannibalism in Fiji was not merely an act of consumption, but also a profound spiritual and social ritual. It was believed that consuming an enemy's flesh would grant the victor their strength and mana. The use of these forks, along with the associated rituals, largely came to an end by the late 19th century, following the arrival of Christian missionaries who actively discouraged cannibalism. This object is about 3 by 3 inches with a small movable lever. When the lever is engaged, little fins extend out from the bottom. Does anyone know what this could be or what it was used for? The object you found is a scarificator, a medical instrument used primarily during the 18th and 19th centuries for bloodletting. At the time, bloodletting was widely believed to be an effective treatment for balancing the body's humors and addressing a variety of ailments. Scarificators were considered an improvement over older tools like fleams because they allowed multiple incisions to be made simultaneously with greater precision. The design of a scarificator typically featured a brass casing containing a mechanism with a series of small blades. These blades were spring-loaded and activated by a lever making shallow cuts in the skin to draw blood. This method was viewed as more efficient and less painful than earlier techniques. Some scarificators were equipped with adjustable settings, enabling practitioners to control the depth of the cuts. By the late 19th century, bloodletting as a medical practice began to decline as advancements in medical science demonstrated its ineffectiveness and potential harm. What is it called when a stove is set inside a fireplace-like cubby? I've seen this design in older houses, but I'm not sure if it's a retrofit or if it was originally built that way. Does anyone know the name for this type of setup? The feature you're describing is called an inglenook, a design element commonly found in older homes, especially in England and parts of Europe. An inglenook is essentially a recessed area or alcove built around a fireplace, originally intended to create a cozy spot for warmth and relaxation near the hearth. Inglenooks gained popularity in medieval times when the fireplace served as the central element of a home, acting as both the primary source of heat and a place for cooking. These spaces were often designed with built-in seating on either side of the alcove, making them a functional and social hub for the household. The term inglenook derives from the Scots word ingle, meaning fire, and nook, which refers to a corner or small space. In modern times, inglenooks are frequently retrofitted with stoves or other modern heating appliances. This allows homeowners to preserve the historical charm and cozy atmosphere of the space while incorporating contemporary functionality. This is some kind of stopwatch with a number scale I don't understand. It was part of a set of 3 pocket devices, a normal stopwatch, a pedometer, and this one. Does anyone know what this device might be or how it works? The device you've described is a stopwatch equipped with a tachymeter scale. Tachymeters are designed to measure speed over a fixed distance, such as 1 mile or 1 kilometer based on time. These tools were commonly used in the mid-20th century, particularly in automotive racing, law enforcement, and other activities requiring precise speed calculations. Tachymeters operate by using a numerical scale inscribed on the stopwatch. To determine speed, the stopwatch is started when a moving object, like a car, crosses the first marker and stopped after it crosses the second marker 1 mile away. The position of the stopwatch's hand on the tachymeter scale indicates the object's average speed. For example, if it takes 30 seconds to cover 1 mile, the scale will show a speed of 120 miles per hour. In addition to being used by automotive enthusiasts, tachymeter-equipped stopwatches were also employed by police officers to measure vehicle speeds. Before the advent of radar and laser speed detectors, officers relied on this method to enforce speed limits by timing vehicles over a known distance and using the tachymeter scale to calculate their speed. I found this intriguing device with a red lever and markings labeled P and G. The red arm moves around as the bottom needle goes down. It comes with a leather case labeled Voss. Does anyone know what this is or how it works? The device you found is a mechanical self-timer, commonly used with older cameras to delay the shutter release. These self-timers allowed photographers to include themselves in the picture or to minimize camera shake during long exposures. This device is connected to Walter Voss, a notable German manufacturer of cameras and accessories active in the 1950s. Voss is best known for producing the DX line of 35mm cameras. This self-timer was likely designed to complement those models or other high-end cameras of the era. Mechanical self-timers operate by winding an internal clockwork mechanism, which slowly unwinds to trigger the camera's shutter after a set time delay, usually between 5 and 10 seconds. On one of the beaches in Ecuador, I came across this strange sand that has magnetic properties. Why can sand have such properties, and is this phenomenon found elsewhere? The magnetic sand you found on a beach in Ecuador is known as iron sand, a naturally occurring substance rich in iron minerals, particularly magnetite. These sands are formed through geological processes like volcanic activity and erosion, which release iron-rich materials from rocks. Over time, these particles are carried by rivers to coastal areas where they accumulate as heavy, dark sands with magnetic properties. Iron sand is not exclusive to Ecuador. Similar sands are found in various parts of the world, including New Zealand, Japan, and the western United States. These sands were historically significant as a source of iron for steel production. In Japan, for example, iron sand was used in traditional furnaces to create steel, which was essential for crafting samurai swords. The unique magnetic properties of iron sand are due to its high content of magnetite, an iron oxide mineral. These old rusty posts are found on street corners all over Washington, D.C. What was their original purpose and why are they still there today? These old rusty posts are remnants of the emergency call box system installed in the 19th and early 20th centuries. These call boxes, used by both the public and emergency services, were crucial for communication in an era before telephones became widespread. They allowed citizens to report fires, crimes, or medical emergencies quickly and efficiently. The system was divided into two main types: fire call boxes and police call boxes. Fire call boxes were equipped with a lever that, when pulled, sent a coded telegraph signal to the nearest fire station, alerting them to the location of the fire. Police call boxes, on the other hand, allowed officers to check in with their stations, report incidents, or request additional assistance while on patrol. As technology advanced, the use of call boxes declined, particularly after the introduction of two-way radios and the 911 emergency system in the mid-20th century. Many of the internal mechanisms were removed, but the durable cast-iron posts remained in place. Recognizing their historical value, Washington, D.C. initiated efforts to preserve these call boxes as part of the city's heritage. I found this wooden object in an antique shop. It measures about 3 by 10 inches, has a hollow end opposite a pointed tip, and features a clip-like part at the top that was once broken and is now held in place with a screw. Does anyone know what this is, or what it might have been used for? The wooden object you've found is a traditional scythe sharpening stone holder, commonly referred to as a coffin. These holders were designed to keep sharpening stones both accessible and protected during fieldwork. The clip-like part at the top was specifically used to secure the holder to a belt or waistband. The pointed end was designed to be inserted into the ground while working in the field. The hollow interior stored the sharpening stone, and in some cases it was filled with a small amount of water to keep the stone wet, aiding the sharpening process. I found this unusual object in my house. It looks like a clock, but the face has only a single needle and the text GPO 13388. The item seems to be made of wood and metal, and its design appears to be quite old. Does anyone know what this is and what it might have been used for? The object you've discovered is a galvanometer, an instrument used to detect and measure electric current. The inscription GPO indicates that it was produced for the General Post Office in the United Kingdom, which was responsible for postal and telecommunication services. Galvanometers like this were essential tools in telegraphy, enabling operators to monitor the presence and strength of telegraph signals. The single needle on the device would deflect in response to electrical currents, allowing technicians to assess signal integrity. The design and materials suggest it dates back to the mid-19th to early 20th century. I came across this structure built on the slope of a small hill. Water flows down it, cascading over each step in a controlled way. It looks like it was deliberately built, but I'm not sure of its purpose. Is this some kind of water management system, or does it serve another function? The structure you found is a fish ladder, a crucial component in water management systems designed to help fish navigate around obstacles like dams. Fish ladders provide a series of steps or pools that mimic natural stream conditions, allowing fish to move upstream to spawn or access habitats they need. Fish ladders became popular in the early 20th century as conservation efforts aimed to protect fish populations and maintain biodiversity. The design and implementation of such systems often depend on the local fish species and the specific characteristics of the waterway. For example, salmon and trout, which migrate upstream to spawn, benefit greatly from these structures. These systems are now common in many regions as part of sustainable water management efforts and are vital for maintaining aquatic ecosystems. I found this metal object with magnetic properties and has some sort of cloth attached to it. It also has a removable circular part in the middle. Does anyone know what this might be and what it was used for? The object you found is a magnet from a radar magnetron, a crucial component used in radar systems and microwave technology. A magnetron is a type of vacuum tube that generates high-power microwave radiation. In radar systems, it produces the microwave pulses needed to detect and locate objects by bouncing waves off them. The magnet in your object plays an essential role in the magnetron's operation, creating a magnetic field that interacts with an electric field inside the tube to force electrons into a spiral motion. This process generates the microwave energy required for radar and other applications. Magnetrons played a transformative role during World War II, revolutionizing radar technology and giving the Allies a significant advantage in detecting enemy aircraft and ships. After the war, they were adapted for civilian use, most notably in microwave ovens. The cloth material attached to the magnet may have been used as insulation or as a protective layer to prevent damage during handling or operation. It's also worth noting that older magnetrons can sometimes contain hazardous materials or emit residual radiation, so they should be handled with care. While clearing out my parents' house, I came across this strange item. I can't think of any hobbies or activities my parents had that would explain its use. The dials don't have any markings on the back, and there's nothing identifiable on the faces either. Does anyone know what this could be? The item you've discovered is a handheld mechanical tachometer, an instrument used to measure the rotational speed of shafts or discs in machines. These devices display revolutions per minute on a calibrated dial, allowing users to evaluate the performance of various mechanical systems. Mechanical tachometers have a long history, with the first being described by Brian Donkin in 1810. Your particular model seems to be a portable version commonly used in the mid-20th century for maintenance and diagnostic purposes in industries such as automotive and manufacturing. The integrated clock in your device helps measure the duration of rotations, making it possible to calculate speed over time. The accompanying glass bottle likely contained whale oil, a common lubricant for precision instruments during that era, ensuring smooth operation and reducing wear on moving parts. I found this object buried about a foot deep in my yard in Racine, Wisconsin. It seems to be made of copper, is roughly 4 inches in diameter, about 0.05 inches thick, and feels quite hefty for its size. Does anyone know what this might be and what it was used for? The item you've found appears to be a fire insurance mark. These plaques were historically affixed to buildings to indicate that the property was insured against fire damage. The practice of using fire marks began in England after the Great Fire of London in 1666, which prompted the establishment of fire insurance companies. These companies issued fire marks to their policyholders both as a form of advertising and as a sign that the property was insured. In the United States, fire marks became common during the 18th and 19th centuries. American insurance companies used these plaques not only to signify insurance coverage, but also to deter arsonists, signaling that the property was protected and that the insurer might take legal action against perpetrators. It is a common myth that fire brigades would only extinguish fires in buildings displaying a fire mark. By the time fire marks were widely used, most cities had municipal fire services that responded to all fires, regardless of insurance status. However, insurance companies often rewarded fire brigades for saving insured properties, which encouraged firefighters to prioritize these buildings. I found this detailed drawing among my father-in-law's belongings. It appears to depict some kind of mechanical tool or instrument, but I'm not sure what it is. What is the tool shown in the drawing? The drawing you found is an old photocopy of a patent illustration depicting a trocar. A trocar is a medical instrument that has been used for centuries and consists of a sharply pointed shaft, typically enclosed in a hollow tube known as a cannula. The trocar is designed to puncture the body or an organ, allowing access through the cannula for draining fluids, releasing gases, or inserting other instruments. Trocars were first described in medical literature as early as the 18th century and have remained indispensable in a wide range of medical applications, from veterinary procedures to human surgeries. I found this small mechanical item that looks like a keyring, but I'm not sure what it is. If you spin the disc on the back, the triangle in the center rotates. The object is entirely made of metal, except for the black filler in the outer rim, which feels like plastic. Does anyone know what this is and what it might have been used for? The object you've found is a miniature model of a Wankel rotary engine, a revolutionary type of internal combustion engine that uses a unique rotary design instead of traditional reciprocating pistons. Named after its inventor, Felix Wankel, this engine was first conceptualized in the 1920s and patented in 1934. Unlike conventional engines, the Wankel engine features a triangular rotor that spins within an epitrochoidal housing, converting pressure into smooth rotational motion. This innovative design made it lighter, more compact, and smoother than traditional engines, although it faced challenges with thermal efficiency and emissions. The first practical Wankel engine was introduced in 1963 in the NSU Spider, the first car to feature this engine. Despite its initial promise, the engine's efficiency issues limited its widespread adoption. However, Mazda, the Japanese automaker, further refined and popularized the engine, using it in iconic models like the RX-7 and RX-8. The keychain you found replicates the mechanics of this innovative engine. When you spin the disc on the back, it mimics the motion of the triangular rotor, demonstrating the operation of the engine in a simplified form. I found this wooden box in a thrift store. It contains 11 colors, with 2 wooden pieces of each color. It doesn't come with anything else, and there are no markings, serial numbers, or text on the box or the pieces. Does anyone know what it is? The object you found is likely a Montessori color box, a key tool used in the Montessori method of education. This educational philosophy, developed by Dr. Maria Montessori in the early 20th century, emphasizes hands-on learning and self-directed activity. The Montessori color box is most commonly used with children between the ages of 3 and 6, serving as an introduction to color recognition and matching. It contains pairs of colored tablets that children use in exercises to match tablets of the same color, gradually progressing to more advanced activities like arranging colors in a gradient. These activities are not only educational, but also help refine fine motor skills and concentration. While cleaning out my mother-in-law's attic, I found this unusual light bulb. It has a reflective mirror-like coating on one side. Does anyone know what it was used for? The light bulb you found is a rapid nigrescence incandescent lamp, developed during World War II to improve Morse code transmission over long distances. Traditional incandescent lamps had limitations in signaling speed due to their thermal inertia. Larger filaments took longer to heat up and cool down, causing signal pulses to blur together. To solve this, engineers designed a lamp with 14 smaller filaments arranged in vertical rings, reducing thermal inertia and allowing it to transmit Morse code at speeds of 12 to 14 words per minute. To further speed up the cooling process, the bulb was filled with a helium-nitrogen gas mixture. The mirror-like reflective coating on one side of the bulb helped focus and project a high-intensity beam, making the signal more visible over long distances. The lamp was also equipped with a pre-focus cap to ensure precise alignment in optical systems. Over time, these lamps were phased out and replaced by mechanical shutters, which interrupted the beam of a standard light source, rather than relying on rapid heating and cooling. I found this heavy cast iron object while hiking in Connecticut. It has established 1901 stamped on it and appears to have once had a crank system. The metal has developed a turquoise patina, and the object is about 4 feet long. It was located next to an old stone structure on a mountain. Does anyone know what this might have been used for? What you've discovered is a horse-drawn roadway roller, manufactured by the Whitehurst Company of Norfolk, Virginia, and patented in 1901. This type of roller was designed to compact and level dirt or gravel roads before asphalt became widely used. These rollers played a significant role in the development of infrastructure during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Horse-drawn models like this one were particularly valuable in rural areas where mechanized alternatives, such as steamrollers, were less practical or too expensive. Finding the roller near an old stone structure suggests that it was likely part of a local road-building operation, possibly servicing early mountain paths or trails. I found this object while hiking in the hills of southern Utah. The area is only accessible by roads built for off-road vehicles. It has no markings or identification. The silver flanges appear to articulate. Does anyone know what this might be? The object you found appears to be a rain gauge with a windshield. Rain gauges are instruments used to measure the amount of precipitation over a set period. The windshield surrounding the gauge minimizes the impact of wind on the collected measurements, ensuring more accurate data by maintaining horizontal airflow near the gauge's opening and reducing turbulence that could otherwise cause underestimation of rainfall. The concept of shielding rain gauges dates back to the early 20th century, with various designs such as the Alter shield and Knifer shield developed to improve accuracy in windy conditions. Given that the area where you found this device is only accessible by roads designed for off-road vehicles, it's likely that it was part of a remote weather monitoring station. These stations are often located in secluded areas to gather meteorological data without the influence of urban environments. We received a sheet of paper with a gold emblem in the middle alongside a funeral letter earlier today. The paper is about the size of an adult hand, and the red and white parts are made of the same material, while the gold emblem appears to be glued on top. The person who sent this was not religious as far as we know. Does anyone know what this might mean or if we need to do anything with it? The sheet of paper you've received is traditional Chinese joss paper, also known as spirit money. This paper is commonly used in Chinese funeral rituals and ancestor worship. The gold emblem affixed to the center is characteristic of these offerings. The practice of burning joss paper dates back to ancient China and is deeply rooted in the traditions of ancestor veneration. It is believed that when family members burn these symbolic items, they are transferred to the deceased in the afterlife, ensuring that their loved ones are well provided for. Over time, the types of joss paper have evolved, but the core purpose remains the same: to honor and support departed loved ones in their journey beyond. In traditional Chinese customs, joss paper is often folded into shapes resembling gold ingots called yuanbao, and then burned during funerals or memorial ceremonies. I found this item in a basement, stored inside a leather box. It seems to be some sort of accessory for an optical device, camera, or microscope. Can anyone help identify what this might be? The item you found is a microscope slide holder designed for use with polarized light microscopes. These microscopes are used to study thin slices of materials such as minerals or crystals, particularly in fields like geology and material science. A slide holder like this is used to secure a sample in place so it can be examined under polarized light. This technique reveals unique details about the material's structure and properties, often helping to identify minerals or analyze the composition of rocks. This type of slide holder was likely manufactured by Leitz, a distinguished German company known for producing high-quality optical instruments. Leitz specialized in polarized light microscopes and their accessories during the mid-20th century. Interestingly, similar models are available on platforms like eBay, where they are listed for approximately $600, depending on their condition and completeness. My husband's friend in Argentina is trying to figure out what this is. The item appears to be an oval-shaped device made of metal, possibly brass. It has a central dial with numbers ranging from 0 to 62. Does anyone know what this might be? The object you found appears to be a mechanical scorekeeper, likely designed for use in games or activities where tracking points or progress is necessary. The central dial is numbered from 0 to 62, with red and green hands, indicating it was used to keep scores for 2 players or teams. The text on the dial, G. Clari Chiavari, suggests it was manufactured by G. Clari, a company based in Chiavari, Italy. The word brevetto, meaning patent in Italian, indicates that this design was patented. During a game, when a player or team earned a point, they likely pressed the green or red button to move the corresponding hand on the dial forward, making scorekeeping straightforward and efficient. This scorekeeper may have been used for traditional games such as Pedro, a card game where players aim to score up to 62 points to win. I found this rusted metal disc with 7 green glass spheres attached to it, and it looks like it might be homemade. This object is located along a driveway in the woods, about 6 feet off the ground. Does anyone know what this could be? The object you found is a reflective driveway marker, commonly used to delineate driveways and enhance visibility, especially at night or in low-light conditions. These markers typically feature a metal base with attached reflective elements, such as glass spheres, to improve visibility. The use of glass spheres in road markings dates back to the early 20th century. In 1927, Percy Shaw, a British inventor, patented the cataphote, a device that used glass spheres to reflect light, significantly improving road safety by making road markings visible at night. Today, prismatic reflectors made from durable plastics or polycarbonates have largely replaced glass spheres. These modern reflectors are more efficient at reflecting light and can withstand harsh weather conditions and prolonged use. I found this metal monkey sculpture in a thrift store in Michigan. It's a non-magnetic metal piece mounted on a wooden base with a small bolt. The sculpture is about 3.5 inches tall and 3 inches wide, and the monkey itself has a fair amount of detail. The object you found appears to be a decorative replica of a tsuba, the handguard of traditional Japanese swords such as the katana or wakizashi. While original tsubas were functional components designed to prevent the user's hand from sliding onto the blade during combat, they also served as an important medium for artistic expression. The intricate design featuring a monkey carries symbolic meaning. In Japanese culture, monkeys often represent cleverness, mischief, and adaptability. They frequently appear in folklore and religious contexts, acting as both tricksters and protectors. Such imagery was not uncommon on original tsubas, as samurai often chose motifs that reflected personal or symbolic themes. Given its non-magnetic metal composition and detailed craftsmanship, this piece is likely a modern reproduction. Original tsubas were crafted during the Edo period, which lasted from 1603 to 1868, and the Meiji period, which lasted from 1868 to 1912. These were often made using materials like iron or alloys such as shakudo, which is a mix of copper and gold. Reproductions, however, are typically made for collectors or as decorative items and are often crafted from lighter or more accessible materials. I found a small silver fob in a tobacco tin that belonged to a long-deceased relative. He lived in occupied Germany, but I don't know much else about him since he passed away in the mid-1950s. The fob has no stamps or engravings on the reverse side. The other items in the tin were rotted rubber bands and a few paper clips. The small silver fob you found is likely a piece of Navajo jewelry, created in the early to mid-20th century. During this period, the Fred Harvey Company was instrumental in popularizing Native American-inspired jewelry, which often included symbols such as the thunderbird and the whirling log. The whirling log, in particular, is a traditional Navajo symbol representing well-being, good fortune, and protection. This symbol has deep roots in Native American culture and existed long before its later and unfortunate association with Nazi Germany. Unlike the swastika, which is typically tilted at an angle, the whirling log is usually depicted in a horizontal or vertical orientation. Despite these differences, its visual similarity to the swastika led to a significant decline in its use in jewelry and art after the 1930s. Given the lack of stamps or engravings, it's likely that this piece was handcrafted for personal use or sold as a souvenir to visitors exploring the American Southwest. I found these all over my beach in Florida tonight. They're kind of squishy, but very hard to break, about the same size and shape as a grape. Does anyone know what these could be? The objects you found on the beach are Valonia ventricosa, also known as bubble algae. This species is found in tropical and subtropical regions around the world, including Florida. It is one of the largest single-celled organisms, with a diameter ranging from 1 to 3 inches. These algae have a bubble-like appearance with gas-filled chambers that help them float. They're commonly found attached to rocks or coral reefs in shallow waters, and their presence on the beach likely means they've been washed ashore due to high tides or storms. Historically, sailors referred to them as sailors' eyeballs because of their round, eye-like shape. Their large size and unique appearance make them an interesting find for beachgoers. Beyond their striking form, these algae also play an important role in marine ecosystems. They contribute to the food chain and provide shelter for small marine creatures. In the past, these algae were mostly found in deeper waters, but changes in ocean currents and temperatures have led to them appearing more frequently along shorelines. About 30 years ago, my dad found this bracelet while working as a plumber at the University of Tennessee. He discovered it about 11 feet down in the dirt, and it looks handmade. Does anyone know what kind of bracelet it is? The object you've found is most likely a torque, an ancient ornament worn around the neck or wrist. Torques were typically made from metal, either as a single solid piece or from twisted metal strands, and were commonly used by various cultures such as the Celts, Scythians, and Thracians. The torque's design is known for its rigid structure, often open at the front, but sometimes featuring hook and ring closures or mortise and tenon locking mechanisms to secure it. Many of these ornaments were crafted to be worn permanently, or nearly so, as they were often difficult to remove due to their construction. In addition to being a decorative accessory, torques were symbolic in many ancient cultures, often representing strength, status, or spiritual significance. The metal used in making torques varied, with some being crafted from bronze, gold, or silver, and the craftsmanship often included intricate details and designs reflecting the wearer's status. I found these dolls while thrifting in Oklahoma. They're about 14 inches tall. One has feet that seem to be made with the same material as the arms. The other has thin legs that appear to be wrapped in tape and velvet shoes. The hair looks kind of like dryer lint. Does anyone know what kind of dolls these are? What you found is an apple doll, also known as an apple head doll. This traditional folk craft originates in North America and has roots in Native American culture. The practice of making dolls from dried apples is believed to have started with the Iroquois or Seneca peoples and was later adopted by European settlers. To make an apple doll, the first step is to peel the apple and carve the face using a spoon or knife. As the apple dries, it shrinks, forming wrinkles that give the doll a distinct aged look. The drying process typically takes up to 30 days, during which the apple darkens and shrivels. Once dry, the apple is decorated with small details such as eyes made from buttons or sequins, and teeth crafted from white beads or grains of rice. The hair can be made from materials like wool, yarn, cotton, or even human hair. The head is then attached to a wire frame body, which is padded and dressed in handmade clothing. I found these small cones buried in my backyard in Virginia, near a house that's about 40 years old. They are lightweight and have a light density. Some of them have blue specks. Can anyone identify what these are? What you've found are tumbling media, small abrasive shapes used in tumble, finishing a process that smooths, polishes, and cleans various materials. These media are typically made from ceramic, plastic, or metal, and come in shapes like cones, pyramids, or cylinders. Tumble finishing was first used in metalworking industries in the early 20th century, primarily to polish and clean metal parts. The process involves placing materials and media in a rotating drum, where friction gradually smooths and polishes the items. It's particularly effective for removing sharp edges and preparing surfaces for further treatments like coating or painting. Patented in the 1930s, the process quickly became widespread in industries like automotive and jewelry manufacturing due to its efficiency. Over time, it spread to smaller-scale use, with hobbyists now employing tumble finishing at home for polishing small items like rocks and jewelry. I found this projectile in the basement of a house built in the 1800s. It weighs around 8 pounds. Can anyone identify what type of projectile this is? The object you found is most likely a British armor-piercing capped ballistic capped tracer shell used in the Ordnance quick-firing 6-pounder. This gun was introduced during World War II and became one of the primary anti-tank weapons of the British Army. The British believed that adding explosive material to their anti-tank shells was unnecessary, as it weakened the shell and reduced its mass. Instead, they focused on creating a solid, armor-piercing shell with a hardened steel core to penetrate enemy armor. However, the shell contains a tracer element, which helped gunners track the projectile's flight and adjust their fire. This tracer element can contain a mixture that burns at a very high temperature, making it potentially dangerous if ignited. This type of ammunition remained a key component of the British anti-tank arsenal and was effective against many enemy tanks. However, with the introduction of more heavily armored tanks, its effectiveness began to decrease. I found these small dishes placed outside the windows of all the offices in my building. Does anyone know what these are for? The dishes you found are most likely a type of bird deterrent, specifically optical gel, which is used to prevent birds from roosting on building surfaces. These dishes likely hold the gel, which creates the illusion of flames by reflecting ultraviolet light. Optical gel is a safe and eco-friendly alternative to more invasive bird control methods like spikes or nets. It doesn't harm the birds, but instead uses visual and sensory effects to keep them away. Typically made from non-toxic materials like agar, the gel is placed in areas where birds tend to roost. This method of bird control is just one part of a broader range of solutions, including physical deterrents, chemical repellents, and even acoustic devices. I found this object at an escape room in central London, among a lot of old tech. It's very heavy, and there were a couple of them. Some could spin freely, but some were stuck in position. It's about 8 inches in size. Does anyone know what this might be and how it was used? The object you found is most likely part of a gimbaled inertial navigation system, a technology widely used in military and aerospace applications. The gimbaled INS was extensively used throughout the mid-20th century, particularly in missile guidance systems, aircraft, and spacecraft, providing a reliable means of navigation. The system includes a set of accelerometers and gyros, each mounted on gimbals, which keeps them aligned with inertial space as the vehicle moves. One of the most notable applications of this technology was in the Apollo lunar module, where the gimbaled INS was used to guide the spacecraft from lunar orbit to the surface of the moon and back. I've had this object for years, and my parents have tried to get it identified and appraised by antique dealers, but no one seems to know exactly what it is. It's made of metal and is about the size of a potato peeler. The inside portions appear to be sharpened, suggesting it might be some form of kitchen or farm implement. The engraving says patent May 8th, 23. Does anyone know what this might be and how to look up the patent? The object you found is most likely a grapefruit seeding device patented by Charles Boyle of New Haven, Connecticut on May 8th, 1923. This device was designed to efficiently remove the core and seeds from grapefruit halves. The process involves cutting the grapefruit transversely, then inserting the tubular cutter into the center of the half, around the core and seeds. By separating the handles, the cutters move toward each other, severing the core below the seeds. When withdrawn, both the core and seeds are removed together. This particular tool reflects the growing popularity of grapefruits in the early 20th century, particularly in regions like Florida, which became known for its citrus production. At the time, grapefruits were being consumed more widely, and tools like this one were developed to make preparing and eating them more convenient. We found this metal object in the woods near Stockholm, Sweden. It's smaller than a basketball, probably around 7 to 8 inches wide. There were remains of a fire nearby. Does anyone know what this could be? The object you found is most likely a smudge pot, an oil-burning device that was used to prevent frost damage in orchards. Smudge pots were commonly placed between fruit trees, and the heat and smoke from the burning oil helped protect crops during cold weather. They became especially popular after the devastating freeze of 1913, which led to the widespread use of smudge pots to protect valuable crops from frost damage. In California's Redlands groves, smudge pots continued to be used into the 1970s, but their use declined as oil prices rose and environmental concerns grew. Before the advent of battery-powered safety lights, highway departments used small oil-burning safety markers to indicate work zones. Similarly, railroad systems used oil-fired switch heaters to prevent snow and ice from interfering with switches. During World War II, smudge pots were used by various military forces, including the Germans, Japanese, and the United States Navy. The North Vietnamese also employed them during the Vietnam War to obscure valuable targets. The thick, oily smoke produced by these smudge pots made it difficult for enemy forces to locate targets, and they were even used as a defense against laser-guided bombs. I found these glass tubes filled with a red liquid. They have metal pins at the bottom and are labeled Tesla ECH81. Does anyone know what these? What you found is a set of vacuum tubes, specifically a type produced by the Czech company Tesla. These tubes functioned as triode-heptode frequency converters and were widely used in super heterodyne radio receivers for AM reception starting in the 1950s. Regarding the red liquid inside these tubes, it's important to note that original vacuum tubes did not contain any liquid. The presence of red liquid suggests that someone tampered with the tubes, possibly as part of a hoax related to red mercury. The red mercury myth gained traction in the late 20th century, with rumors suggesting it was a highly valuable, secretive substance used in nuclear weapons, missile guidance systems, and even paranormal research. These claims, however, have been widely debunked by scientists and intelligence agencies, and no credible evidence has ever confirmed the existence of red mercury. Despite this, scams involving counterfeit red mercury continued to circulate, particularly in black markets and online forums. I found this device at an antique store, but the owner doesn't know what it is. It has a telephone handset and several knobs on the side. These knobs have 4 rows of adjustable numbers. There's also a small compartment at the bottom. Does anyone know what this device was used for? What you found is an NCR stamping phone, a device used in department stores during the mid-20th century for automated credit authorization. Manufactured by the National Cash Register Company, this machine streamlined the process of verifying customer credit before completing a sale. As consumer credit became more common in the 1950s and 1960s, department stores needed a more efficient way to handle credit transactions. The device had a built-in telephone handset which store employees used to communicate with credit authorizers located in a central office within the store. The process began when a store employee inserted the sales slip into the machine and pressed a button to send an authorization request. This triggered a buzzer in the credit department, notifying the authorizer to review the customer's credit details. The authorizer then called the store employee, who provided the customer's name, address, and other necessary information for verification before hanging up the receiver. If the purchase was approved, the authorizer sent a signal back to the device, which emitted a sound indicating that the payment had been authorized. At this point, the sales slip was stamped and perforated, creating a permanent record of the transaction. The original copy was stored for store records, while the duplicate was given to the customer. This device belonged to my mother, who was into New Age practices in the 1980s. It has metal plates, wired handheld components, and a large analog gauge. Does anyone know what it was used for? The device you found is likely an Intero biocommunication device produced by the Ecian Corporation, which later became Zyto. These devices were popular in the 1980s, especially among individuals interested in New Age practices and alternative medicine. The Intero was designed to measure the body's galvanic skin response, a method that assesses changes in the skin's electrical conductance. This technique has roots in practices like electroacupuncture, developed in the 1950s by German physician Dr. Reinhold Voll. He discovered that acupuncture points exhibited different electrical properties compared to surrounding skin, leading to the development of devices to measure these variations. In practice, a patient would hold metal electrodes connected to the device. The practitioner would then introduce various substances or stimuli and observe the body's electrical responses, as indicated by the device's analog gauge. Proponents believed that these responses could help identify sensitivities or imbalances in the body. However, the scientific community has largely criticized such devices for lacking empirical support. Organizations monitoring medical claims have raised concerns about their efficacy and the pseudoscientific claims often associated with them. Today, companies like Zyto continue to develop biocommunication devices, though their products have faced scrutiny and regulatory challenges. I found these while cleaning out my uncle's house. He was a veteran, but we're not sure what they are. They look like keychain tags, but the text on the bottom one is confusing. Does anyone know what they were used for? The items you found are key finder tags, which were part of a program run by the Disabled American Veterans Organization. Introduced in 1941, these tags were part of a fundraising initiative aimed at helping disabled veterans and their families. Each tag resembled a miniature license plate and was distributed to motorists across the United States. The concept was simple. If someone found lost keys attached to the tag, they could drop them into a mailbox. The United States Postal Service would then forward the keys to the DAV, who would identify the owner using their records and return the keys. By purchasing these tags, individuals were essentially making a donation to support the DAV's efforts to assist disabled veterans and their families. This program not only provided a valuable service to the public, but also generated significant income for the organization. In its first year, the IdentoTag program generated $800,000 in income for the DAV. The program continued until 1975, when it was discontinued due to changes in privacy regulations. I found this on Pismo Beach, California, near the waterline. It looks like a loaf of bread on one side and felt squishy to the touch. It reacted when I touched it. Could this be some kind of sea slug? What you found is most likely a gumboot chiton, also known as the giant Pacific chiton. It is one of the largest types of chitons, growing up to 14 inches long and weighing more than 4 pounds. You can find this remarkable creature along the rocky shores of the northern Pacific Ocean, from central California to Alaska, as well as in the Aleutian Islands and parts of Japan. It lives in the lower intertidal and subtidal zones, clinging to rocks. What makes this chiton particularly fascinating is its appearance. Unlike most chitons, which have 8 visible armored plates, the gumboot's plates are entirely hidden beneath a leathery upper skin or girdle, which can be reddish-brown or sometimes even orange. As a slow-moving herbivore, it feeds on algae, sea lettuce, and kelp, scraping them off rocks with its radula, a specialized tongue-like organ covered with rows of magnetite-tipped teeth. It mainly feeds at night, often hiding during the day. The gumboot chiton has few natural predators, with the lurid rock snail and sea otters being some of the few that can consume it. Its tough, rubbery flesh, however, is not particularly palatable to most animals. It can live for over 40 years and is known for providing shelter to various commensal organisms, including scaleworms and small crabs, that reside in its gills without causing harm to it. What is this glass container with a metal lid and a unique design on top? It also has the marking trademark November 20th, 1917, April 8th, 1919. The Cleveland Metal Products Company, made in the USA. Does anyone know what it could have been used for? What you found is a vintage glass kerosene jug manufactured by the Cleveland Metal Products Company between November 20th, 1917 and April 8th, 1919. This jug was designed for use with kerosene stoves, which were widely used for cooking and heating in households and businesses before the widespread use of electricity and gas. The Cleveland Metal Products Company, established in 1888, played a key role in the development of kerosene-burning appliances during the early 20th century. In 1901, they partnered with Standard Oil to produce the Perfection line of kerosene stoves and heaters, which became a popular alternative to coal and wood stoves. These stoves offered a cleaner, more efficient cooking and heating solution, leading to increased demand for kerosene as a fuel source. I found this metal object with a face carved into it, wearing a hat that resembles the ones worn by Japanese officers during World War II. It weighs about a pound and appears to be made of iron. Does anyone know what this object might be? The object you found is likely a piece of trench art, specifically a type of decorative military item crafted by soldiers, prisoners of war, or civilians during the major conflicts of the 20th century. The design of the face, featuring a Japanese officer's hat and exaggerated facial features resembling Allied caricatures, suggests that this piece was made as a mockery of a Japanese soldier, possibly during World War II, when anti-Japanese sentiment was widespread. Such pieces were often created as a form of artistic expression or as souvenirs, reflecting the emotions, frustrations, and experiences of those directly involved in the conflict. These objects ranged from small personal items like rings or cigarette cases to larger sculptures, and were often crafted from discarded materials such as shell casings, bullets, or metal scraps. I found these glass items at a yard sale. They aren't doorknobs, and some even look like crystal. The items come from a house with a large collection of different glassware, as well as a salt and pepper collection. Does anyone know what these might be or what they were used for? The objects you found are likely knife rests, a type of kitchenware. Knife rests are functional decorative items, commonly used in formal dining settings to keep the dining area clean. The modern design of knife rests was invented in the late 17th or early 18th century, though earlier versions made of wood may have existed as far back as the time of Henry VIII. The main purpose of these items was to protect the tablecloth from stains. Over time, knife rests evolved, and by the Victorian era, they were made from a variety of materials, including gold, silver, mother of pearl, and ivory. Knife rests became especially popular in Europe, with notable contributions from the French, Russians, Germans, and other Europeans. Starting in the late 19th century, most knives were designed with heavier handles, which made knife rests less necessary. As a result, late Victorian etiquette manuals mentioned that concerns about staining the tablecloth became unnecessary. I see this truck with 5 massive spheres on the bed drive past my house every morning around 8 a.m. At first, I thought it might be construction equipment, but it seems odd for it to pass by every day. Does anyone know what these massive spheres are? The spheres you're seeing on the truck are likely Starlink ground station pods. These are part of the ground infrastructure for the Starlink satellite internet system developed by SpaceX. The ground stations, also known as points of presence, serve as terrestrial relay stations that connect the satellites in orbit to the internet infrastructure on the ground. They use large phased array antennas to communicate with multiple satellites simultaneously, enabling efficient data transfer and low latency. These stations are connected to high-speed fiber optic networks to ensure fast data processing and transfer. I found this pocket-sized metal box from 1924 with a plunger ejector mechanism. It measures approximately 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches by 0.7 inches and feels like it's made of steel, with a chrome-plated exterior that's engraved with 1924. The box is locked shut when the plunger is pushed in, and pulling it out opens the box, revealing 2 spring clips. There's also a recess in the middle with holes punched through it. Does anyone know what this could be or what it was used for? The object you've found is likely a Barron's Improved Combination cartridge case and pipe filler, a device designed to simplify the process of filling a pipe with tobacco. To use it, you would first pull out the plunger to open the filler, then place the desired amount of tobacco inside and close it. Once the filler is sealed, you would position the mouth of the device over the pipe bowl, press the plunger, and the tobacco would be pushed directly into the pipe. This design ensures a consistent fill, preventing waste and mess. During the early 20th century, there was a surge in innovative smoking accessories as people sought more practical and functional tools for their daily routines. I found this object with 2 handles connected by a rope and a small end that has a plastic sheath which retracts to reveal a sharp spike, similar to a sharpened Phillips head screwdriver. The plastic covering is spring-loaded, but the spike stays in place. The rope connecting the handles is about 6 feet long, and there are no model numbers or brand names on it. Does anyone know what this is and what it's used for? The object you found is most likely an ice safety pick, also known as ice claws. It's a tool primarily used in ice fishing for self-rescue if someone falls through the ice. The device consists of 2 handles connected by a cord, with a sharp spike at the end of each handle. If a person falls through the ice, they can save themselves without outside help using this tool. By driving the spikes into the ice, pulling themselves up with their arms, and kicking with their legs, they can climb out of the water and back onto the ice. This method provides the necessary grip to escape a dangerous situation. Ice safety picks are typically worn by threading the cord through the sleeves of a jacket, ensuring they are always within reach in case of an emergency. I just moved into a house and found this small device plugged into an outlet in the basement. The only words on the case are Sonic Technology, and it's about 2 inches by 2 inches in size. Does anyone know what this could be or what it's used for? The device you found is most likely an ultrasonic pest repeller, specifically designed to deter pests like rodents and insects from invading your home. Ultrasonic pest repellers have become popular due to their ease of use, silent operation for humans, and the fact that they eliminate the need for poisons or traps. They work by sending out ultrasonic waves that cause discomfort or confusion in the pests, potentially disrupting their ability to communicate, breed, or gather food. However, the effectiveness of these devices has been widely debated. Research on ultrasonic pest repellers has produced mixed results. A study conducted by Kansas State University in 2002 found that while some insects, such as crickets, were deterred by the ultrasonic waves, the devices had little effect on more persistent pests, like cockroaches. Other studies have shown that while some pests are initially disturbed by the noise, they can quickly become habituated to it, rendering the devices ineffective over time. Some manufacturers claim that these devices can eliminate even the most difficult pests, like cockroaches. But in real-world situations, the signal strength can rapidly diminish and may be blocked by walls or furniture, reducing their overall effectiveness. The Federal Trade Commission has also issued warnings to several manufacturers for making unsupported claims about their efficacy. In the last video, I asked you to guess what this old metal device might have been used for. Everyone had great guesses, and many of you got it right. This item is a Sharples cream separator, a machine designed to separate cream from milk by spinning it at high speeds. Thank you to everyone who participated and shared your guesses. A special shout out to Sean Hawkins for being the first to correctly identify it. All right, it's time for another mystery item. Take a look at this long-handled object with a spear-like metal tip. What do you think this could be? Leave your guesses in the comments and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to create more videos. See you next time.